This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Very, 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 Mickey, 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 Pishy, Pishy!
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
Give me a name.
like him.
Who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me. I like him.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
And we are live here on the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, the king of banter, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's happening?
We've been challenged to get through all of these topics in 3
Who
hours.
challenged us?
People have challenged
Oh,
us.
these people are dumb. We do it all the time. We had a show 2 weeks ago that I was positive we were not going to be able to get through all the topics, and we fucking did it. So, anonymous person, straw man that Joe has created, you're going down. We're going to get every one of these topics, every last one of them, and more shit too, I'm sure.
Well, as long as we stay focused and you don't derail us with some kind of off-topic thing that you're prone to do, I think that we can get through. Well, yeah.
Wow, okay.
You tend to drift off the topic sometimes, which I'm fine with. I'm a man who goes with the flow. I'm a man who I ride the wave where it takes me.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
So, but I think if we just have laser focus and, you don't drive us off the path down some fork in the road, then I think we can get to it. But there is a lot to get to. I mean, I'm looking at this run sheet, and it is pretty daunting. I mean, we've got Hacksaw Butch Reed passing away. 2 New Japan shows to review. Looking for, Castle Attack is in like 14
I
days.
know, it's so soon. It's so soon. New Japan is just hitting you over the head with these Road 2 shows, the 3 New Beginnings, Castle Attack, 2 Castle Attacks. It's too much. We'll talk about it here in a bit. They are hitting you over the head with it. And like during the middle of the week bullshit, back to back on like a Wednesday and a Thursday. Like that's some nerve of these guys. Some nerve of New Japan.
I think 3 Cork and Hall shows happened since we started this. I mean, it's
probably one going on right now, yeah, as we speak.
And they're never good. There's a takeover, believe it or not.
Much to the surprise of many people, myself included. So yeah, I was kind of perplexed when I went to watch NXT this week, and they're pumping up a takeover, and I went, "Oh yeah, I knew that. A takeover is this weekend." So yes, we have a takeover to talk about.
There's an Impact special.
Yes, I also definitely did not just realize that until I started making notes for this week's show at all. I definitely knew that Impact Wrestling's No Surrender 2021 was coming up this particular weekend on Saturday, of course.
Noah is in either Sumo or Budokan. Where are they?
Budokan. That's the whole point of it. It's in Budokan, yeah.
Listen, I get forgetful sometimes. Noah's in Budokan this weekend.
Yeah,
actually,
Destination, the return of Budokan Hall, first time since Kenta Kobashi's final match. I think, yeah, I'm almost positive. Yeah, 2013, I want to say, if I have the date right. Yeah, last time since 2013.
They call it Final Burning or something?
Yes, yeah, Final Burning, I believe.
Yeah. And then we're going to bounce around the indies as well. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of indies to talk about, and none of them,
some of them.
That's not true.
Some of them, yes.
I was going to say none of them are Game Changer Wrestling, but that's not true.
That's not, yeah.
But there will be some non-Game Changer content. I know that we watched a show. I got to tell you, it felt good to watch that show that we watched this week.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna lump that into Bouncin Around the Indies. I'm not sure if that, I don't know. We'll talk about it, but I don't know if I classify it necessarily as an indie, but I think it probably fits in that topic. But yes, that was a very refreshing show.
Why would MCW not be an indie?
I don't know. I think, to me, when I think of indie, for whatever reason, right or wrong, I think of American indies is what I think of. And I think the other reason too is, I'm watching that MCW show, and like the video quality is good, and like the cameras look like they were from the bought in the last 5 years, and it's hard to, you know what I mean? Like to me, indie, right or wrong, the connotation of a quote unquote indie, it looks a certain way, and it looks, Not it doesn't look like that. It doesn't have good production values. It doesn't look good. The wrestlers all don't look like they care and try or whatever. It's not the fault of MCW. It's the fault of what I currently in my brain when I think of indie, what I think of is not what I saw from NCW. But they are they are undoubtedly an indie, but I don't know. I have this mental block that to me when I think of indie, I think of like sleazy fucking terrible production value American indies. So
that's only because of the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
That's what American indies are just. They just have that whole dirtbag vibe to them.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
that's
a tarp hung up on a wall type stuff. You know what I mean? Guys, basketball short guys. You know, it's got a whole And I said it's a me thing. It's not a them. It's not an MCW problem. It's not even. I mean, there's American indies that I recently was on that Pluto wrestling channel. Because occasionally I'll pop over to the Pluto and put it on to fall asleep, watch some Unsolved Mysteries or something like that. And they have that wrestling channel. They have the Impact channel, which is really good. They used to have the AAA channel, and I don't know if they do anymore.
Gone.
Yeah, fuck that. Because that was an awesome channel to throw on at night.
Yeah.
The only problem though is I would never fall asleep because there'd be like I'd turn it on and there'd just be some random ass like hardcore match from like 2004 on, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is really cool. So I learned a lot of stuff. But like I'd go and watch that wrestling channel, and I was watching Defy Wrestling, and obviously they have tremendous production values and don't look like a shindy. So and they're undoubtedly an indie. So it's just it's a mental block that I have of considering things indies when
No, MCW is undoubtedly an indie. I think you're crazy, but I get what you've been conditioned by the last 2 or 3 years of American indies. Just that whole vibe they put out. But yeah, it was refreshing. I mean, like you said, good production values, wrestlers that looked major league or major league ready. Professional setup, professional commentary, very, very refreshing. But we'll get to that later in the show. We've got to start with Butch Reed. There's nowhere else to start here. I think that Rusty Brooks just died as well. I think that came across just before we started the show, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll start with Butch Reed. He passed away, I think, right after we finished the show.
I want to say Friday morning is when I found out that he had passed away, but I guess the official day is February 5th, which would have been Friday, so maybe early in the morning on the 5th or whatnot. I remember waking up on Friday and finding out the news. So I'm not sure exactly when the day was, but the official day is February 5th. So the day after we recorded last week.
So he had a couple of heart attacks early in the week. I think he was 66 years old, so he had been in some poor health leading up, and it came out on the day of his death that he was a huge fan of Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah, that's how awesome is that? And that's the problem is like so often the conversation around old wrestlers, retired wrestlers, semi-retired wrestlers is just I hate this. This sucks. Oh my day. Like we very, very rarely hear of any of these guys that actually like and still watch modern wrestling and like enjoy certain people and can, because they're a wealth of knowledge. And I really wish like the conversation could change a little bit and not just be old wrestlers either rag on Dave Meltzer or just rag on like flips. Like it'd be really cool that we did reach out to more old wrestlers and say, hey, who do you like now? I don't want to hear about yada yada yada. Who you hate this guy sucks, the business doesn't do this yada yada. Who do you like now? Do you watch now, and who do you like? Like it would be really refreshing to hear that. And it sucks that we'd only heard about that Butch Reed loved Powerhouse Hobbs after he died. And it's like, man, how long has Butch Reed been watching wrestling and just sitting there with nobody, talking to him?
Yeah, and I mean, telling his family that Powerhouse Hobbs is the next Hacksaw.
Yeah, that's
really cool, and it is refreshing when old wrestlers can just enjoy what's going on in wrestling as opposed to tearing it down. And it sounded like he was an old wrestler who kept up with the modern product and wasn't afraid to put new people over. So that is cool. Ricky Morton has that same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's you see him on Twitter and he's always talking about the new talent, and he's not bitter and jaded, and he's not out there doing a podcast putting everybody down. And I think that's great. But Butch Reed is a guy who I think you can break up his career into 3 distinct eras. You had Hacksaw Butch Reed, and then you had the Natural Butch Reed, and then you had Doom. because once Doom broke up and he had that singles feud with Ron Simmons at the tail end of his WCW run, that was really it for Butch Reed on a major league level. So, Hacksaw early on, where he was considered one of the better wrestlers in America, and really his best stuff would be the Ric Flair matches either in Florida or Mid-South. You get a hold of any of them, and they're all excellent. The Florida ones are probably really hard to get a hold of now, and the Mid-South ones, the TV matches are very easily accessible. Mm-hmm. Some of the big show matches may be a little bit harder to find. But he wrestled Ric Flair a million times. I mean, and Flair was quoted this week saying that he thought Butch Reed was a great opponent and a great wrestler. But that's probably the best of his work, and I think a lot of people, depending what age you are, those three eras of Butch Reed are what you're probably going to remember most. I think, we'll talk about the Hacksaw era in a minute, but when he came to WWF as the natural Butch Reed with the bleach blonde hair and everything, there's a lot of parallels to post-prison Ken Patera, in my opinion, with the natural Butch Reed, because he was physically shot by the time he got to the WWF. Butch Reed was.
I think also, and it's not like he was not in shape in Mid-South, but I think he just added so much weight to his frame in the WWF days. I mean, he's just fucking gigantic in the WWF, and I think that really, because my initial entry point to Butch Reed was WWF and as the natural Butch Reed or whatever, and I was just like, man, this is, and I would hear people, I'd read stuff about how great this guy was, and I'd watch him, and like the WWF run, I've actually come to appreciate some aspects of it. From time to time, there are some matches that I have watched, or I really, really enjoy it, or some moments that I really do enjoy. In Doom, there's some stuff that I enjoy as well, because a guy like him is unique when you go back and watch him. But in the time, watching it, when I was first kind of getting into wrestling, getting into old wrestling, he struck me as a guy who was just like, I hear stuff that this guy was like used to be really good, but I just don't see it very much. And he just and going back and watching a lot of the old stuff, he was just a guy that, like you said, physically his body was kind of breaking down, and I think it came at a bit like as his body is breaking down from years of wrestling and years of football and that sort of stuff, he's also adding just like pounds and pounds of weight onto his frame, and eventually that just is not going to work. Your joints are just going to start feeling it, and you're just going to start really physically breaking down. And that's, I think, what is most notable for me for Butch Reed is just how fucking huge he was in that era, muscular wise, and how it really, almost to the detriment of his career, but that was the style. That's what you looked like at those days, and it's hard to disagree that Butch Reed looked him. He was one of the best, bodies in the company. That'd carry over into Doom and Jim Crockett Promotions as well.
I thought he was much bigger in Doom. I mean, that's where he was just fucking, yeah. He was inflated then. It looked like he just, they attached him to a fucking helium machine and just inflated him. I mean, he was goddamn huge in Doom. But by the time he got to WWF, he was physically shot. Yeah. He had those knee injuries, and he wasn't good. That was not a good run. I mean, I've talked about that run many times. I always used Butch Reed as my frame of reference for bad late 80s WWF house show matches. I would always say, that was like a 1988 Butch Reed house show match, because I just have this burned in my memory, him just throwing a headlock on a guy and sitting in it for 7 minutes and then going to the finish. He was physically shot. And on top of that, the crew during those years was tired. I mean, they really worked the rugged schedule at the time he was there at that time.
Yeah, that 86, 87, 88 run, if you want to really just like blow your mind, like especially I think 88 is the one that anytime I go look at the schedule in 88, it is unbelievable. I mean, there is some Sundays and some Saturdays where they're literally running 4 shows on one day. Like, the A crew is working, the afternoon and the night. The B crew's working the morning and the late afternoon. It's like, Jesus Christ, they had 4 shows going on in one day and every day. I mean, this was not when some of those guys exaggerate about how many times they're on the road or whatever, the reason we get annoyed about that is because, like, you can just give the real number, and it's like the real number is ridiculous. Like, they'll say, I was on the road 800 times that year, and it's like, I mean, you weren't, but you were on the road 400 times. Like, that's still a big, like, use that number. You don't have to overinflate it. It's ridiculous. Just the real numbers is unbelievable at that time. Yeah, I think it's 88, 87 that is the year where they really just like, they just go absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts with the amount of shows they're running.
It's around that time, 86, 87, 88, where they, the double shots on the weekends and everything. And at times, they were running 3 crews as well.
Yeah, the C crew, of course, yeah.
They did have a C crew, where, it would be one main event match, which sometimes would be like the tag team titles or something like that. And then it would be filled out with your prelim and television jobber types, your Steve Lombardis, your Hillbilly Jims, people like that underneath Jose Luis Rivera. And they would run a C tour, and it would be in small buildings. You know, they wouldn't put them in basketball arenas, but they put them in civic centers and places like that and draw 800 to 1,000 fans. So they were running 3 tours at once for a while. And that's the era that he was there. He was physically shot. He was tired. They were all tired. And he just honestly wasn't that good on that run. And it's funny because I just went and watched that Wrestling Challenge dump that the network put up a couple of weeks ago. And it starts with the very first Wrestling Challenge in 1986, mid-86. And there's like 3 months worth of shows on there. And it's when Butch Reed debuts with Slick. And he comes out with the bleach blonde hair. And in his first match, he's announced as the Natural, Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Just all of them, all the nicknames.
Yeah, and they dropped the Hacksaw part. I think it was just Mel Phillips knowing him as Hacksaw Butch Reed. I don't think he was supposed to say that. Because he was known as Hacksaw Butch Reed for a decade. And, you know, the idea of the Natural, well, the heat was supposed to be, well, he's not natural. He's got bleach blonde hair. It's a black guy with bleach blonde hair. He's not natural. I've heard his gimmick described over the years, and I don't know whether I agree with this or not, and I'd like your take. Some have said that the idea was because in his very first match on Challenge, he gets one of them inset promos in the box, and he immediately calls out Hulk Hogan. Because the idea was he was going to be programmed with Hulk Hogan because he came in with this reputation and being this big star in Mid-South, and McMahon was just rating Mid-South hardcore at that time. Some of those episodes of Wrestling Challenge, it's like 90% of the guys were in Mid-South 6 months earlier. Dick Slater, Jake Roberts, Butch Reed. You know, you go right down the line. Like, DiBiase and Duggan were coming in shortly thereafter at the end of 86. He just picked that roster apart. So he challenged Hogan right off the bat. And with the bleach blonde hair and the blonde and the yellow trunks, a lot of people think the original idea was that he was going to be like the heel doppelganger to Hulk Hogan.
Bizarro World Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the name The Natural, like, you know, implying that he was all natural and his muscles were natural, his hair was natural, but obviously that was the heat. But because he was physically shot and he just couldn't get over and it just didn't work out, I don't even think he ever had that program. I'd have to look, but I don't think he ever had a sustained program with Hogan.
Let me check real quick. I don't think so, as I was kind of going earlier this week. I think he wrestled him a few times here and there, but not certainly like the 6-month house show loop with Hogan. I don't think he did that ever.
With a pay-per-view match at the end or something. Like nothing like that, obviously. And then, you know, later on in the run, they were going to put the Intercontinental title on him, and this is a famous story that most people have heard.
They didn't work at all. Sorry, not to interrupt. The only time they ever worked a house show was late December 87 and then February 88, and that's already years into his run there. So
just random one-off house show.
Yeah, just nothing. Yeah, just a random house show match in Hamilton, Ontario, and then another one a few months later in Pembroke Pines, Florida, at the Hollywood Sportatorium. So,
which, remember, and he came in and challenged him right off the bat.
Right. And didn't get anything for 4 years, basically. 3 or 4 years.
So, you know, they were going to put the Intercontinental title on him toward the end of his run, 88-ish, 87-ish, but this is a famous story. It ended up going to the Honky Tonk Man instead. And Honky Tonk Man obviously had a legendary Intercontinental run from there. But, you know, he just wasn't the same as the guy who was tearing up wrestling and having all those great matches with Ric Flair, because the injuries had just caught up at that point. And then he goes to WCW in 89. Doom, to me, incredible aesthetic. The whole vibe of the team.
Oh, it rocks.
Legendary walkout music. Great angle to introduce them with Robin Green and Rick Steiner having the crush on her. And it was all a setup. And then she turns out, you know, she's like this nerdy fan. And Rick Steiner thinks he's going to bang. But then, like, it turns out it was all a ruse, and now she's like this vivacious woman, and they just called her woman, you know, and then she's managing Doom, and they're feuding with the Steiners, and Rick Steiner has his heart broken. So a great introduction angle. a great aesthetic with the masks. Everyone in the world knew it was Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, but that wasn't the point. You know what I mean? Like, and they were jacked up, but the look and the aesthetic was better than the bell to bell.
Yeah, because then the bell rang, and then they were just kind of bad. So, because Ron Simmons at the time had no idea what he was doing. They basically years removed from, like a couple years removed from playing college football or whatever, and he's in there. You know, he was kind of learning on the job. You know, it's a funny thing that we always talk about with, you know, NXT, and I know you were tweeting about it earlier when, you know, Triple H is doing his calls and talking about, you know, guys in developmental and moving up, and it's just like, okay, God, Jesus Christ. Like, Velveteen Dream's been there for 7 years, guys. Like, you know, or Biff Busek's been there for, like, what feels like 6 or 7 years as well. But yeah, Ron Simmons, it was like 6 months of training. All right, you're on TV, kid. Like, learn on the job. Like, learn how to do it. So he was obviously not gonna you know, be the guy that was gonna lead that team. And then Butch Reed at that time, like you're saying, this is already, I mean, this was 4 years after you're saying that he's physically shot, and he's even bigger, and he's got even more weight on him, and he's got the WWF house show run on him, and yeah, so the bell rang, and once that happened, things kind of got lost. But no, I'm right with you. I love Doom because I love everything about Doom. It's just then the match happens, and I can let go of it because, like, they obviously there's some matches that are not good, but it's like at the end of the day, you know, you're there for all the other ambiance about Doom and all the other ambiance of you know, especially the tag teams of that time. You got stuff with the, you know, they're doing stuff with the Road Warriors and stuff with the Steiners and stuff like that. That's really cool. Eddie Gilbert and Tommy Rich. I remember, I think they faced them at one of the Clash of the Champions. So there was like fun matches and fun matchups. But yeah, with the bell was not good at all. But that's all right.
I didn't think they were a bad team, but I don't think they're as good as their reputation 20 years on.
No. People look at pictures and go, "Whoa, those guys are awesome," and it's like, it was an awesome entrance and an awesome look. But yeah, they were not like the Road Warriors. They were certainly not the Road Warriors once the bell rang.
Great presence, great look, great gimmick, all of that. Okay matches. Some of them, they peaked fairly high, but they weren't like some great bell-to-bell tag team. And then they split up, and that was really the end of Butch Reed's Major League career. But yeah, the Hacksaw Butch Reed stuff is, you know, great promo, great wrestler. The stuff with Ric Flair, I mean, you know, a little problematic, some of it, you know, there's the one Mid-South program they have where the whole setup, you know, Ric Flair calls Butch Reed a monkey. And then, you know, Butch Reed, the babyface, talks about beating women, like, to get a cheer. So there's a lot of problematic aspects.
Yeah, Mid-South. If you're
but,
listening to this and you're one of those blue check marks that's about to rain on the WWE's parade on Peacock, Mid-South is a great place to start. If you want to do that, I would. I don't care. I mean, let's, you know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. But like,
it was the time. I mean, you know, what are you gonna, you know?
But Mid-South, yes, yeah. You know, beating your wife when you went home was not necessarily a heel tactic. There was some episode I saw the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I had to slap around the old lady," and everyone's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh no, God damn it!" Like, I forget who it was, but it was like a babyface promo as he was like rallying the troops. He's like, "Yeah, if you get out of line, you'll have, you know, well, just like my wife when she gets out of line." Like, I'm thinking, "Oh man, they're gonna all boo him," and they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, all right."
Usually the context was the heel would have a valet, and the babyface would have a line like, you know, "Let me tell you something. I've slapped around women when they got out of line, and I'm not past putting my hands on you either."
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then you think that that's going to be like a ooh, and instead of like everyone's like, yeah.
No, it's 1985. It's 1985.
In the South,
so it gets a gigantic reaction. You know, it's just a different time and a different era and all that. And then, you know, again, sometimes society changes for the better.
Right.
You know, it's these weren't, they didn't think they were saying something bad. You know, I know that's hard for people to wrap their heads around, but they didn't think that they were saying something bad. You know, it's like the angle where Magnum TA just grabs Baby Doll and kisses her, and David Crockett's yelling, "She likes it. She loves it. She likes it." You know, as she's trying to fight off Magnum TA, but he was the babyface. So it's kind of like the same deal. But, you know, yeah, the Flair stuff is where I'd start. If you're not real familiar with Hacksaw Butch Reed, any Mid-South, I mean, just turn on the Mid-South eps on the network, and he's all over them. I mean, he lives on the tag team with Buddy Landel. I mean, just a great tag team, which obviously led to the inevitable split. You know, after Junkyard Dog, another guy that McMahon rated from Mid-South left, they went with Butch Reed as the babyface. You know, so they did the split with Landell, and that's a, you know, go watch that story progress. I mean, that's great stuff right there too, and but then eventually Watts lost everybody to Vince. But those 86 Wrestling Challenge episodes are just, what a great watch. There's like 3 months worth. And like I said, Butch Reed debuts, Honky Tonk Man debuts as a babyface and then doesn't get over. And then they have the whole fan poll deal where he ends up turning heel. Dick Slater is there as a babyface and just not getting over at all as the rebel Dick Slater. Shockingly, that didn't work
in the Northeast. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah,
but he's coming down with the rebel again. Different time. He's got the Confederate flag, and he's like the little hat. He's supposed to be like a Confederate soldier.
Yes, yeah.
It's like,
and believe it or not, Boston wasn't a huge fan of the Confederate soldier guy. So.
And you have the debut of the Islanders on that run as Hako and Toma with the different spelling, which I was watching that, and David Bixenspan and I did a little detective work a couple nights ago. That was the debut of the Islanders after that's the first time they wrestled with the name change. Because when the Islanders debuted a week earlier on Superstars, they were King Tonga and the Tonga Kids still.
Right, yeah.
But packaged as the Islanders. And then on Challenge 2 weeks later, they were the Islanders, but they were Hako and Toma, spelled with O's. And then the next week, they were Haku and Tama, and then the rest is history. And that's the babyface Islanders, before the turn. It's just a really newsworthy run of shows, those Challenge episodes. A lot happens. Bobby Heenan purchases Hercules from Slick during that run, which is funny because then Bobby Heenan tries to sell Hercules to Ted DiBiase a few years later, and that's the impetus for Hercules' face turn.
Right.
He's like, I'm a man. I'm not going to be sold.
Yeah, I'm not property to be bought and sold, even though I've been bought and sold before in this very company by you. But yeah, you know what? Not anymore. I'm sick of that shit.
Yeah. But Bobby Heenan takes Slick to the bank and literally hands him stacks of cash like a cartoon.
It's awesome.
And Slick puts it in a paper bag. I mean, it's just phenomenal stuff. And that's when Slick is kind of like taking over for Fred Blassie. They're co-managing Sheik and Volkov and Hercules, right? Because Blassie's getting older and he's using the walking stick. So they're kind of phasing Blassie out and phasing Slick in. And Butch Reed, to bring this, full circle, he's the first guy that Slick manages on his own without Freddie Blassie involved. So he bought half of the contracts of Hercules and Sheik and Volkov from Blassie, but Butch Reed was his guy that he brought in. And it was supposed to be a big main event run for those two. But, for the reasons that we talked about, Butch Reed never caught on. Also in that run of challenges is the beginning of the Danny Davis heel referee angle.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, that's a fun era.
It's a really great period of shows. I mean, because so much happens, and it starts off innocuous where he just makes like bad decisions in the matches. It's not obvious that he's being a heel. But then it becomes more and more. There's a match between Randy Savage and Billy Jack Haynes for the Intercontinental title. And it's very obvious that he's in the bag for Savage in that one. And then that's when like Monsoon turns on him and the heel commentators start defending him. And then it's like, okay, we see where this is going now. So I know it's just, it's the very first wrestling challenge, and then it runs for like 3 months, and it's really worth a watch because they're 40 minutes. They're easy watches.
Yeah, I got on a run. Actually, it's one of my favorite things to do on the network these days, and something I'm definitely going to miss if it's not all carried over, or if the structure of it's all different on Peacock. Is something that I love doing and I did it recently, I think around the holidays. Or when I was doing the New Japan ebook, I just wanted something to put on in the background that was not going to take too much of my attention, that I could kind of have in the background, stop and look and do all that. And I think I jumped in on Superstars from like 1992 and watched it all the way through like 1993, just every single year. And it's like, I really recommend if you can do that because you see the week-to-week stuff and you see and like, yeah, there's going to be stuff that gets repeated. There's going to be, video packages that get repeated. There's going to be things that get, kind of, you watch, they're going to talk about something that they've talked about 4 or 5 times. I saw Doink Attack Crush like 9 times, to build up to the WrestleMania 9 match. They showed it like 1,000 times over and over again, but it was kind of fun to watching the week-to-week is super, super fun. And yeah, you pick up on little things and you see a guy, 1 week and you're thinking, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. And then like, it pays off like 9 weeks later. You're like, oh, they've been little by little kind of building this guy up. And like the best is when new guys come in. Like the thing that I really remember about when I was watching the Superstars for that 2 years or whatever it was, Yokozuna coming in, and it reminded me a lot of what you talked about with Hako or whatever is.
Yeah.
He is Yokozuna for like 2 weeks. Everybody calls him Yokozuna. And then, like, little by little, everyone starts calling him Yokozuna, except for, like, half the guys on the roster still call him Yokozuna. Like, Virgil still calls him Yokozuna. Jim Duggan calls him Yokozuna. I think Mean Gene does a backstage thing, and he calls him Yokozuna. And it's just funny that, like, you see that, like you said with the Hako or whatever, it's, you know, sometimes these guys came in and they didn't know or they didn't remember, or like you said with Mel Phillips, where he's, like, the natural, the hacksaw, I don't know, whatever, who cares? Like, it's just fun to see that, you know, with so many people coming in and so much movement and so many new different people on the roster that yeah, there is an opportunity to kind of be confused as to who this person is or what their name is. Whereas, yeah, now you're never going to have that because everybody's on the roster for 19 years. Like, you're never going to. But like on that, it's a revolving door of new guys coming in and out and guys turning and guys doing stuff and new gimmicks and whatnot. So I'll have to check out the Wrestling Challenge thing though. I have not. I haven't delved into that yet. So
the Dino Bravo debut too. He comes in with Johnny V as a singles wrestler. And then obviously a few months later at WrestleMania 3, they break up the Dream Team with Beefcake going babyface, and Dino Bravo gets paired up with Valentine as the new Dream Team. So they plant the seeds for that in '86 when Bravo comes in with the dark hair. Great jobbers too. Mick Foley and Shane Douglas all over it, doing jobs. Frenchie Martin doing jobs before they made him a manager. Ironically enough, the manager of Dino Bravo a couple years later. You know, so all the Barry O, all the classic job guys. I love seeing which job guys get booked on shows like that too. But it's funny because I watched that '86 run of Wrestling Challenge, and then I'm making dinner one night, and I just randomly threw on an episode of 1983 All-Star Wrestling, which was the show that preceded Wrestling Challenge, right? That became Wrestling Challenge, the old All-Star Wrestling. And I'm watching this, and I watched the first 7 matches. And remember, this is only 3 years before those 1986 Wrestling Challenge episodes. The entire feel of the company is completely different. Just the tone, the setting, the way the show is shot, the way the show is formatted. But Rich, just here were the 7 people who won their matches on this episode of 1983 All-Star Wrestling. And then I'm going to tell you where they were by 1986.
Right, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Number 1, Eddie Gilbert.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, right. That's. By the way, if you want more on Eddie Gilbert and WWF, Voice of Wrestling, Liam Byrne from our website had a great little series that he was doing on Eddie Gilbert, and especially this WWF run, which I didn't even know existed, to be honest, until I read that. So
by '86, he's already in UWF. We did that whole thing behind the paywall with the tag team titles. He's a major star, long gone. Match number 2 was Superstar Billy Graham doing his Kung Fu gimmick in 1983. Okay? By 1986, he had failed with that Kung Fu gimmick in Mid-Atlantic. He tried to bring it there and it didn't work. And in 1986, he's back in WWF. And his story is he's a aging legend trying to make a miracle comeback.
Right. I think against Butch Reed, right?
At the age of 43.
Yeah.
Younger than a lot of the guys that were in the World.
He was against Butch Reed, though, right? Wasn't that feud supposed to be him versus Butch? Yeah, that's what I remember. So, yeah, nice full circle thing there.
Yeah, it was a feud. He got programmed with Butch Reed, and then Graham couldn't go.
Yeah, didn't they try to put him in the ring like a few times, and they're like, all right, never mind, that's not going to work. Think about how bad you have to be to look like Billy Graham or Superstar Billy Graham in that era and not be good enough to work in that era where they're just like, no, kid, we're not going to be able to do anything with you.
He was horrendous, so they turned Don Morocco babyface, and then Graham managed Don Morocco against Butch Reed at the tail end of that feud. S.D. Jones, who by 1986 was now a television jobber. Ray Stevens
oh my God.
on 83 All-Star Wrestling. He might have been dead. What year did he die?
I don't think he was dead, but I think he was. I don't know. He was certainly, I don't know what he was doing. He was working indies or
long gone from WWF is the point. He probably was back dying days AWA, I think is where he was by 86. Rocky Johnson won a singles match. By 86, his entire WWF run was done. He would never come back again. But between 83 and 86, he had like an entire career. He formed a tag team with Tony Atlas. They won the tag team titles from the Samoans, and that ran its course. And then he left, and Buddy Rose was up next. He was long gone by 86. He had been he wrestled on WrestleMania 1 and then went back to Portland. He didn't come back to WWF until like 89.
Yeah, when they were doing the fat guy. Yeah, they're doing the look how fat this fat guy is. So that's...
The tag team champions Jay and Jules Strongbow wrestled on this show in 1983. Okay, by 86, Jay Strongbow was an agent, completely retired. I couldn't tell you where Jules Strongbow was by 86. My point here in making this comparison to the striking difference, not only in tone, feel, presentation of the shows between 83 and 86, was also the complete turnover in talent from 83 to 86. Rich, how different is 2021 WWE from 2018?
2011 WWE. I mean, that's something we brought up on Twitter this past week, where you look at the Elimination Chamber 2011 lineup and the Elimination Chamber 2020 lineup, and it's there's some frightening parallels. We'll do that when we preview Elimination Chamber next week. But yeah, you don't even have to go back. Don't even go back to 2018. Which seems
compared to 2007.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can that's even more pathetic, and that's like going from 1973 WWF to like WWW, Buddy Rogers on top and shit. Versus it's unbelievable how stagnant wrestling is these days, and I think new fans don't really understand it, and I think and that's a big reason why I recommend it. When you do, if you ever are kind of bored and want to go on the network, watch like 6 months of Wrestling Challenge, or 6 months of Superstars, 6 months of whatever, because you'll see guys come and go. You'll wonder, hey, what happened to that guy? And then you go and look, and oh yeah, he was fired, or he ended up his run, and then this guy signed, and then that guy signed, and that guy turned, and it's just like every few weeks there's something new going on, somebody new, and especially that 86, 87, 88 run that you're talking about, when they're just hoarding talent from all over the place. Is new guys are coming in all the time, and old guys are on the way out, because obviously the roster is not big enough for everybody. But yeah, that was true of all wrestling for years and years and years, is that guys would do a run for 1 or 2 or 3 years or whatever, and then they were out, and then they went somewhere else, and sometimes they were brought back. But yeah, your guys staying around for 10 years just didn't happen. There just was no reason for it, and I think wrestling was ultimately better for it, because it makes it more exciting. Like you're saying, you're watching those episodes, and new guys are debuting all the time. New names, new faces, new people you've never seen before. Old guys are moving out, and they can come back and they can be interesting. But yeah, it's so much more fun when a roster is fluid like that, and guys are coming and going and moving and shaking. It just, yeah, it adds new excitement and new feuds, new gimmicks, and all that sort of stuff. But that is definitely a vestige of the past. I don't think that's ever coming back, unfortunately.
It's not just unique to 83 to 86 either. Compare 86 to 89.
Yeah.
Really take any 3, 4, 5 year jump in that company's history until you get to about 2006 or 7 or 5.
Yeah, because honestly, when people bring it up, people do say, by 2000. I'm like, no, dude, look at even like 2003 to 2000 is like a dramatically different company. But yeah, by 2006, 2007, 2008, it's just kind of there. And then, God, the 2010s, they might as well all be the same. You might as well lump all the 2010s in the same. Yeah.
It's been stagnant in look, presentation, and even talent for the last 15 years now, which is incredible to me. I mean, because 15 years prior to 1986 was 1971.
Right.
And it's like, just from 83 to 86, those wild changes. But even, you even compare like 1994 to the Attitude Era.
Oh, that's I always bring up 95, like 95 to 98. That's a company that's like, hey, here's guys that have jobs in their free time. Here's a race car driver. Here's a guy that runs a garbage man. Here's a magician. Here's this, and then 3 years later is this fucking Sable and DX and Stone Cold. It's like, Jesus Christ! Like, the difference is staggering from fucking 1995 to 1998. It's night and day what that company became over those few years, and yeah, you don't get that for any wrestling. And again, that's not unique to WWF either. Go back to WCW was exactly that way. ECW was that way largely. It's just it's a byproduct of the modern era of wrestling for whatever reason. It's just kind of always been this way. So
ECW only existed under Paul Heyman from mid '94 to early 2000. When did they fold? 2000. January 2001.
Was it 2001? No, 2001. Yeah, January 2001.
But January. So it effectively lasted from mid '94 through the year 2000. So you're dealing with a 6-year period where, the ECW that people consider ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, And even within that short 6-year period, they rebranded halfway through with the purple logo. And, it didn't completely change, but there's a drastic difference between 1994, 1995 ECW and 1999 to purple logo. Even that evolved in that short period of time. Do you realize, Rich, that by next year, 205 Live will have outlasted ECW?
Oh my God. No.
Does that blow your mind? Or what?
You're lying. You're lying. That's impossible.
Yep. It's true. Look it up.
God.
Well, not, like I said, Heyman.
Not Eastern. Yeah, not Eastern. But yeah, the Heyman run ECW. That is the two. Dude, there was somebody who mentioned something about 205 recently and the beginning of 205 Live, and I could not believe it's been around as long as it has. It's been so irrelevant. Yeah, it's like in my brain, it started in like 2018. You know what I mean? It started in like late 2018 to 2019, and no, it started for 2 years prior to that. It's unbelievable.
Right after the Cruiserweight Classic, because
the Cruiserweight Classic to me feels like that was 2 years ago. I cannot believe that was 4 years ago.
It's because if you remember, Mustafa Ali debuted at the Cruiserweight Classic, and he jumped the line. He didn't do an NXT thing because he went right to 205 Live, which started in 2016. Mustafa Ali is in like his 5th year in the WWE. Can you believe that shit? Like, how long has it? Doesn't it feel like yesterday he was on freelance shows?
Oh yeah,
Chicago,
yeah,
tearing it up.
Dreamwave, watching him on Dreamwave. LaSalle, yeah.
It's pretty wild. But anyway, I just noted that dichotomy between 83 All-Star Wrestling, which that show turned into Wrestling Challenge, and just the drastic difference between what that show was and what Wrestling Challenge was just 3 years later.
Yeah.
Less than 3, because it was like a mid-83 episode to like an early 86. It's wild. Wrestling is it's so, particularly that company, so stagnant. Couple corrections. We are told that in the chat room, the AAA channel is still on Pluto. It's just not in the sports section anymore. You have to go to the Spanish language section.
Okay.
So AAA is still on there. I don't know why they would move it. I feel like it, well... I
get why they did, but it was so much easier because it was like the Impact AAA, and then there was a few things in that same sports area that were really easy to jump between. But I get that, like, if you're somebody, I don't know, I don't really mind that, but I get that there are probably angry random people that are like watching something and then they flip and then it's in Spanish and they get upset.
I don't think anyone would be. Well, the whole thing is, I think it would be better lumped with other wrestling channels than other Spanish speaking channels.
Exactly, I agree. I
think you're more likely to get crossover from that rather than, because there's Spanish speaking people don't automatically like Lucha Libre. They fucking speak Spanish and they want to watch shit that's in Spanish. Whereas anyone who likes wrestling is going to be interested in the AAA.
Right. Well, that's definitely like guys that don't know, like people, programmers that know nothing about actual wrestling and would think, oh, they're not going to, English speakers aren't going to watch, Mexican wrestling. It's like, oh, little do you know, sir. We'll watch anything. Any language.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to have a language. You don't have to understand any words of that language, and we'll still watch it and consume it. So yeah, that's good to know it is still there because there's some fun stuff on that channel. So
yeah. So
oh, real quickly, I wanted to we were talking a little bit about the house shows, and I was scrolling Butch Reed's cage match. On December 27th, 1987, WWF ran 5 house shows in one day. So they ran in London, Ontario, Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, St. Paul, Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota, and Landover, Maryland. So the Landover, Maryland, that's your Hulk Hogan. He's in the main event with like Big Boss Man versus Andre the Giant or whatever. Those guys only had to work one show. They were fine. The London, Toronto crew, I believe, I don't know if this would be the C crew. No, okay, hold on. This has got to be messed up. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Now I'm not sure. So, oh man.
Just go by the main events.
Yeah, well, so that's the problem is something got me screwed up here. I wonder if there's something wrong. So London, Ontario, the main event is Jim Duggan and King Harley Race. So that's not very good. But the Toronto show is Hulk Hogan in it. It's Bam Bam Bigelow and Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy and Ted DiBiase. But on that same day, Hulk Hogan's in Landover, Maryland then in the main event with Bam Bam Bigelow against Andre the Giant and King Kong Bundy.
Oh, that has to be a mistake.
That seems pretty tough to get from Toronto to Landover, Maryland.
No, that's a mistake because that's a flight. Because they would... Okay, so let's say one of the crews was in Landover, Maryland.
Yeah,
right?
because I'm going to tell you the Duluth St. Paul is the same crew, and I'm going to talk about that in a second here. But yeah, this Toronto Landover thing, that's a 9-hour drive, and I don't know how the flight. But
it's impossible.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that in one day. So
when they did the double shots, it had to be a 3-hour drive or less because you would do a show at noon. It would wrap up at 3, but the guys before intermission were already on the road. And then as long as you can get to the next building within 3 hours, you could do Landover, Maryland and Meadowlands in New Jersey, or you can do Philly and Boston.
Yeah.
Or
Baltimore. Or Baltimore is Landover basically, but yeah.
Right. You're Washington, D.C. and Philly or something like that. But you didn't want to do 2 shows in the same market. Like it wouldn't make sense to do the Meadowlands and MSG because it's the same ticket buying public. And you're not going to sell out both shows. But what you would do, if you do like the Meadowlands and Baltimore, that's 2 different markets. So you can do the matinee in one building and then the night show in the other building. And then you could do the same thing with the B crew. They can do Sacramento and San Francisco or, whatever the fuck, Dallas and Houston or something like that if they're in a different part of the country. And then you'd have the C crew, which typically would just work one show, and it would be in some small civic center, usually somewhere in the Northeast.
Yeah, and that's what I think that London, Ontario crew is. Yeah, I mean, with that main event for sure. But the Duluth St. Paul, which by the way is about 2.5 hours drive between the two, so perfect timing. Which again is ridiculous to think about that. Like you hopped in a car, drove 2.5 hours, and just walked out, end of your match. And did it, and that's why these guys, did headlocks for half the time.
Yeah, that's why they were reasonably lazy on these shows.
So your main event is IC title match: Randy Savage defeating the Honky Tonk Man by DQ. Couldn't do it. Nick Bockwinkel, the special referee, too. Get that St. Paul Civic Center tickets, ticket buying public there from Nick Bockwinkel. And Butch Reed on the first show was against Don Morocco. It was Don Morocco and Butch Reed, and then the semi-main. Was Jake Roberts and the one-man gang, and then Duluth, which I imagine Duluth was probably in the morning or the afternoon, and then they went to St. Paul, so I'm doing this backwards. I just wanted to mention that. So Don Morocco versus Butch Reed, same match there. Jake Roberts, one-man gang, same match there. A double count-out, a very exciting double count-out between Jake Roberts and one-man gang. Your main event, same deal, Randy Savage and Honky Tonk Man, IC title by DQ, so probably the exact same match. No Bockwinkel this time; he's not going to Duluth. And then your semi-main event, though, unfortunately, is Rick Rude and Buck Zumoff. So that's
wow,
yeek.
Yeah, and Buck Zumoff obviously local as well, so they used the local guy. Yeah, but you could see like basically the same shows with some minor changes.
Yeah, St. Paul, we'll let Bockwinkel come, sell a few more tickets, a little bit bigger of an arena, but pretty much the same thing. Which is when I love, because like especially a talking point with like NXT or whatever, when Sasha and Bayley were having those great matches, people are like, I don't know, they practice their matches. It's like these guys worked with each other 100 times on the road. I mean, fucking Warlord and British Bulldog. How many times did those guys face each other to build up to a WrestleMania match that ended up just never happening? They just said, we don't have room for you guys. Sorry, not gonna happen. They wrestled 150 times in a year to get to it. So like, it missed me with the fucking they practiced their matches. Who cares? They practiced their matches in '87 too because they did the same match every single night. You think Randy Savage and Honky Tonk Man did one match in Duluth and then on the road there were like, all right. So here's what we're gonna do. They just did the same match exactly beat for beat. Probably.
Exact same match. Yeah.
You think Honky's out there scratching in paper? All right, so here's what we're gonna do, pal. Is you're gonna do this to me, and then I'm gonna do like no. He was just like, same thing, man. Right? Yeah. Boom, let's do it. And
it becomes muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's just
it's a job. It's a job for them.
You do it twice in one day. I mean, you're just doing the same. You go and you do the same exact match, and then you do it again on the loop the next week. You go home for a day, and then you're right back on the loop again, and you're doing the same match all week again, and then twice on Saturday. So yeah, that's how it was, and they insist on exaggerating anyway. Which, like you said at the top, why?
You don't have to.
You don't have to exaggerate.
You actually worked. You literally worked 270 matches in a given year. You could just say that. That's impressive. You don't have to say, we're on the road 800 times that year. I wrestled 8 times every Saturday. And it's like, no, I mean, you wrestled twice every Saturday, which is still pretty impressive. So that's like, you could just mention that. That's good enough. But it wouldn't be old wrestlers without grossly exaggerating their accomplishments.
So the Honky Tonk Man, I just want to get this in quickly, and then we'll do New Japan.
No rush. No rush on New Japan. Well, I'd rather talk about Butch Reed for longer. So
I'm the only person, because everyone always argues with me. My childhood memories of the Honky Tonk Man babyface debut was that even as like a 9-year-old, when I'm watching this play out, I'm still smart enough to realize, okay, he's not really a babyface. I think this is a setup, and we're supposed to not like him. That's what I always thought as a kid. And then he flops as a babyface, and then they do the fan balloting thing and the gimmick with Jesse Ventura, and he has to tell the Honky Tonk Man that he lost in the fan balloting. He tells him there's 670,000 votes cast. And Honky Tonk Man's like, I told you they love me, Jesse. 670,000. And Ventura's like, no, but 600,000 of them don't like you. Only 70,000 people like you.
Yeah, there you go. Get into the Jesse. Yeah, the Jesse.
Yeah. And then Honky's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it yet. And he storms off. And that's his heel turn. He's like, well, if these people don't like me, well, fuck them. I don't like them either. Like, but here's the thing. People say, oh, it's because he flopped as a babyface that they then created that story and ran with him as a heel. But if you go back and watch those early babyface Honky Tonk Man matches, he's going way over the top to slap everybody's hand, high five everybody.
Yeah, I'm on your side. He's an Elvis impersonator in 1987. Like, there's no way.
And I really feel like
and not in Memphis. He was in Boston and fucking Baltimore. They don't give a shit about Elvis.
His promos are corny, and he's like this. He's so over the top and cheesy about being a babyface. They even have Hulk Hogan cut an inset promo for him saying, well, let me tell you something about the Honky Tonk Man brothers. When did they ever do that with Hulk Hogan, having him endorse another babyface?
Right. Well, and the thing is, too, like, I've watched some of that stuff, is Honky Tonk Man, it's almost the same character when he's a heel, because he would come out and he'd go like, oh, thank you very much, I love y'all. It's like everybody's booing him, and he's like, they love me. Like, he was just the delusional Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, I think it was, okay, yeah, they presented him as a babyface, but I think it was over the top and cheesy and goofy on purpose.
Right.
Because the heel turn was coming anyway, and that was the story. The
I'm
with you. This guy's a cheeseball. You're not supposed to like him, and now he's going to keep being a delusional cheeseball as a heel. Everyone disagrees with me. No, the push just didn't work.
There's no way that company at that time sat down and said, yeah, this guy that is a strip mall Elvis impersonator is going to be like a top babyface. There's no way in 1986, 87 they thought that was going to work. There's no way. They were too smart. They were too smart at that time.
And it happens too fast.
Yeah.
Like you can watch, like, he debuts on Wrestling Challenge, and like 3 weeks later they're doing the gimmick with Ventura. That's not even enough time to go on the road and see if he gets over. That's not even enough time. Like, it happens so quickly, that's even more evidence in my favor, because they didn't even give it a chance to get over. Like, it takes people time to get over. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't even give him a chance. It was just immediately, and the way the commentators, like, they're just too over the top, the way they gush about him when he's a babyface. And then they start saying, well, I don't know, these fans aren't really, it's like, to me, it was all a deliberate story. But everyone disagrees with me. It seems like you at least agree with me.
I just
go back and
I can't buy. I mean, I guess I wasn't alive in that era, so I don't really know. But like, I just can't. I mean, anytime I ever saw the Honky Tonk Man, it was just like, yeah, this is like this delusional third-rate dollar store Elvis impersonator. Like, of course everybody would hate him and think he's lame as fuck. Like,
here's the thing too. There's like parallel evidence at the same time. Like, Dick Slater debuts at the same time. He doesn't get over either. And it's like they saw it out with, like, he never got over. He stayed another year, and eventually they just turned him into a TV. I won't want to call him a job guy, but he was already in the ring guy. After, you know what I mean by that? There's a difference between,
sure. Yeah.
Like, he might team with Mario Mancini, but Mario Mancini is going to take the fall. You see what I mean? Like, he was that kind of guy. He wasn't a straight up jobber. He was a jobber who got respect, and that because he never got over. But they didn't turn him heel. They just said, oh, well, he didn't get over, and they shrugged their shoulders, and that was that. He didn't even get booked on WrestleMania 3, and then he left, right? Because he saw the writing on the wall. If Honky Tonk Man didn't get over, they just would have let him flat. Like, to me, I think it was all a deliberate storyline.
Right. And they were too smart and too good at that in that era, because the way that they built it up and the way it went, it was like the best, the maximized, amount of opportunities you could get for Honky Tonk Man, where he became like the biggest heel in the company and just a real, or maybe not the biggest heel in the company, but at least in that B show loop or that IC title, area. your semi-main events, your upper mid card or whatever. He was like the top heel in the upper mid card. So no, I think they didn't stumble into that by accident. They were too good in that era. They knew what the hell they were doing.
I think the idea was, let's present him as a goober and make sure that everybody doesn't like him.
Right.
And then we'll turn him. Like, that's what I'm saying it was. But the newsletters of the time disagree.
Well, we'll have to see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just again, not being alive in that era, I have no idea if there was like reverence for Elvis impersonators then, but I can't imagine there was. I just can't. So especially not in the Northeast. Like, it's a different gimmick if you're running it in Memphis. You know what I mean? The guy that loves Elvis in Memphis works a little bit better than the guy who loves Elvis in like fucking, peak like Springsteen era. Like,
Rich, he goes on the Snake Pit as a babyface. And Jake Roberts just roasts the shit out of him. And not in a heel roasting a babyface way.
Yeah, right.
Where the babyface, like, at the end of the segment, like, Roberts is like, the fans don't seem to understand you. And I don't understand you. Elvis has been dead for 9 years.
That's what I mean. Yeah, right. And that's what I mean. Like, the delusion. And then, like, yeah, I think, again, I love why we're arguing with newsletter writers of 1986 or whatever. But, like, I've seen some of the angles. I haven't seen all of it that you're talking about. But, like, he snaps and fucking goes nuts on Jake and hits him with the guitar.
Well, no,
like, that has to be,
No. That's a different one.
Is that later? Okay.
This is one where he's just
but I mean later on he's going to do that angle is what I'm saying is like, so to me it's like building up the tension in him where he's just like, fuck all you. Like, I'm a superstar. I don't care what you guys say. Like,
even the way that this one ends.
Right.
Even the way this one ends, Jake is like, Elvis has been dead for 9 years. These people don't seem to like you, and I don't like you either, right? And Honky, like, as a babyface, you would either just insult Jake, and then it would end with Jake being frustrated, which is how all the Snake Pits ended. Like, the babyface would then say something to Jake, and Jake would, like, be stomping his foot and be like, fuck this guy. But instead, on this one, Honky Tonk Man, he's, like, gotten to. He's like, well, I don't have to take this from you, Jake the Snake Roberts. I don't need this. And then he just storms back to the back, and Jake, like, laughs at him. That's not a baby. That's a guy who. No,
that's a 2020 or 2021 baby face that cowers in fear at the heel. But no, the fucking busts his ass.
Yeah, he doesn't come back with any wisecrack or anything. He just gets frustrated and is gotten to, and he storms off. So I don't know. I'm even more convinced now. My 9-year-old memories were correct on this one. I think it was a setup all along to turn him into a fucking delusional heel. And then you're right. Later, after Jake turn, that's the Jake turn, because Honky Tonk Man comes back to the show, comes back to Snake Pit, and Jake gets on his ass again, and that's when Honky sneaks back around the corner with the guitar and hits Jake with the guitar, and that turns Jake babyface, and that is the build to the WrestleMania 3 match with Alice Cooper.
Right.
And that's Jake's turn. So the first Snake Pit set up that second one, which again tells me it was planned all along. That's even more evidence. That's a piece of evidence I hadn't even thought of.
There you go. Add that to the... We got to do a deep dive where Joe... we got to find more things that newsletter writers were wrong about in 1986 and dispel them. So
yeah.
No, you're definitely on that one. But all right, so so for people, real quick before we end the Butch Reed thing, if you're going to, I'm listening to this. I only know Butch Reed maybe as the guy that was in WWF for a little bit. I don't know any matches. So I should go on YouTube, look up Butch Reed, Ric Flair. I should watch some Doom stuff, I guess. Like what's kind of you got a few hours to kill. What do you watch for Butch Reed, or where do you kind of look for stuff?
Anything against Ric Flair, promos or matches. Anything really in Mid-South, but especially the Buddy Landel tag team and the split. And then I think Doom for sure. If you don't know Doom, just, go watch Doom stuff. And I think there's some value in the natural Butch Reed just for historical purposes. Mm-hmm. Definitely watch him debut with Slick, and you can see that they definitely had main event plans for the guy. But for reasons we talked about, it never came through. And he ended up a mid-card guy. I mean, he feuded with Billy Graham, and Don Morocco, and then he was like, he feuded with Coco Beware, like lower guys. He was just a lower mid-card guy for most of the run after that, because they knew he was physically shot and he didn't really get over. But everything before the run is the natural is great, and he's a guy who at different periods was considered one of the best wrestlers in the entire country.
So I did a quick little search. If you just type in Ric Flair Butch Reed on YouTube, you get obviously a lot of the matches that they had, full matches as well. These 20-minute matches, Mid-South TV, some other stuff as well. And then if you just look up, you just do Butch Reed on YouTube, there's actually some pretty good stuff. As I'm scrolling here, there is like a Billy Graham versus Butch Reed in 87, so you can see them trying to build that up. As you said, there's some JYD Butch Reed stuff from 83 when they're both still in their physical peaks that you can check out. So there's a lot of really good stuff just by searching Butch Reed on there. You can get, there's some Doom stuff in there too. I believe, oh man, do they even have, wow, I'm surprised this is even on here. They have the entire Super Brawl Thunderdome cage match between Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, which isn't good, but is historically significant because that's really it for Butch. Like you said, that after that run, I forget even what the hell he did or if he did anything more in WCW, but you can see the blow off of Doom. No. So
that's it. He feuded with Ron Simmons and then he was gone. Ron Simmons obviously went on to have a whole career after that, but Reed was done. That was it for him.
Yeah. They actually have, not to interrupt, they have the Slick. If you look up Slick and Butch Reed on YouTube as well, they have the promos from those guys too. So. Yeah.
So, that's the stuff that I would look for. If you have the network, the Landell Reed story, the Mid-South episodes that are on there cover that period. Like, so you can watch all that play out right on the network. You don't have to go searching for it.
All right, so that's Butch Reed. Unfortunately, sucks that we have to do segments like that, but it's always an interesting time to do this, and I know that people do enjoy these segments as well and watch a bunch of stuff and enjoy it. So, all right, let's get to New Japan Pro Wrestling. We'll talk about New Japan. Joe, they had two shows, two New Beginning and Hiroshima shows. They were certainly shows of the shows. They were shows that definitely occurred and happened. Your night one main event is Hiromu defeating Sho, 35 minutes and 38 seconds, the longest junior title match in history, I believe. The semi-main event, just real quick, I'm going to go over these matches and then kind of do an overall discussion about New Japan. Then we'll talk about the shows themselves. The semi-main event of that night one is Girls of Destiny versus Dangerous Tekkers, 29 minutes and 8 seconds, ends in a DQ. So there's an hour of your life down the drain there in just those matches. Night two, you have the ridiculous Okada Evil match that ends by DQ. You have the semi-main event, a 27-minute never open-weight six-man title match. And then your main event, another 27-minute Kota Ibushi Sonata match. My overall thoughts are, I don't understand why New Japan is going in this direction. I mean, we've had on the road twos, we've had multiple, time limit draws. We've had the longest never match ever between, Tanahashi and Shingo. And not that I'm complaining. I mean, that's a match that went 30 minutes and it felt like it went 10. So it's like, not complaining about that one. But on these two nights, it was really evident of like, what are you guys doing? Like, why does Hiromu and Sho need to go 35 minutes? Why do we need the longest never, why do we need the longest never open weight six-man title match ever? Why do we need the longest junior heavyweight title match ever? Like, why are we deciding when there's no fans that can make any noise that we're going to go as long as humanly possible, with these main events? I mean, God, they were slogs to get through. And like, I liked a few of the matches. I liked some of the matches we're going to talk about, but man, my overarching thought when it was done was just like, fuck, I don't want to watch New Japan for weeks after I was done with these shows. They were just so thick and voluminous. I don't know. Do you have the same thought as me?
I don't think it's necessarily, I was chewing some M&Ms. You caught me off guard.
That's fine. I heard the rustling of a bag. You're just an asshole that just drinks eats normal M&Ms, right? Like no peanut, no.
Number one, I'm not an asshole. That's number one.
Well, you're an asshole if you only eat normal M&Ms, but go on.
I don't do Chikara M&Ms. That's an old bit we used to do.
I know, but I can't believe it. The peanut M&Ms are so good. I don't understand.
No. I just want...
Who eats normal M&Ms? Like, I don't understand.
Most people, okay?
They're wrong.
I will bet you that the standard non-Chikara M&M is the best-selling M&M. I mean, would you even dispute that? Come on.
I don't know if I'd dispute it, but I just think, people are stupid. The general public is very stupid, but I don't know. Peanut M&Ms are just the superior, but that's fine.
Every week with the grocery order, I get the 19-ounce family size M&M bag. Everybody enjoys them. The boy calls them Skittles.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Don't love that either, but that's right.
I'll say I want some Skittles. I got to correct them. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to tell you again. These are M&Ms. Okay, I'm going to stop giving them to you until you start calling them by their proper name. But and I just finished off the bag. I got like 5 or 6 left. The bag's empty. And tomorrow's grocery day, so we'll get another family size M&M bag in here. But I don't like Chikara M&Ms. The hazelnut ones aren't bad, but that's basically just chocolate. So What do you want from me?
I don't know. So J-Pop in the chat room, and he has the same experience that I have because I have a vending machine at my work. He says the normal M&Ms never get sold in the vending machine at my work, and they're exactly the same for mine too. I've never once seen somebody walk by me with a normal bag of M&Ms, but I see people walk by me with a bag of peanut M&Ms every single day. So maybe it's I know J-Pop's a Chicago area Midwest guy, so maybe it's a Midwest thing. But
I'll bet anyone on earth that the regular M&Ms are the best selling M&Ms. I'm so confident.
I wouldn't take that bet because I think you're probably right, but I don't know. To me, in my experience, I don't know. I see people.
I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't really like peanuts. It's a lousy snack.
Okay.
So why would I want it? You know what I mean? Like, who sits there and eats peanuts? I mean, that's a bottom tier snack. Like,
I love peanuts.
If you go to my pantry right now, the last things that ever get eaten are like just a fucking thing of Planters peanuts.
I love peanuts.
And pretzels. Like,
man, those are my two favorite things.
That's the shit that never gets eaten.
Send them my way, man. Send them. I'll give you my address. Send me those peanuts and pretzels. I'll eat them all day.
That's the shit that gets eaten on Thursday night.
Pretzels are the best. Oh, I love pretzels.
Because you go grocery shopping Friday, that's what's left on Thursday. The chips are gone. The candy's gone. The M&Ms, the chocolate, the whatever the fuck. The last things remaining are always like that thing of Planters peanuts and like maybe some pretzel sticks. Nobody likes that.
I will say I do not like pretzel sticks. I'm more of
that's what I'm talking about.
Twist
like
guy. Yeah, pretzel sticks are kind of lame. Yeah, they're kind of stupid. They're just
terrible.
It's just a way to make crumbs. It's just a way that they have to clean up after you eat. But yeah, pretzel twists are fantastic. I won't.
It's a way to eat salt. Just admit it. You're eating pretzel sticks because you like salt, and you don't want to go and take a handful of salt and stuff it down your stupid face. So you eat it on the pretzel stick instead, because no one likes those crunchy pretzel sticks. You like that crystallized salt that's on there.
True.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I will defend normal pretzels. I will defend other types of pretzels. I do not like the pretzel sticks, though. I will like, the Snyder's sourdough nibblers. Those, the nibblers. I like those guys. I like the twists. I like a lot of different pretzels. The big pretzels. The Snyder's like giant pretzels. You open the bag and there's only like 5 pretzels in there, but there's this behemoth, like fucking 9-inch, wide pretzels. I enjoy those ones.
That I'll eat, but I prefer a soft pretzel, a northeastern, Philadelphia style soft pretzel to any kind of hard pretzel. Okay?
That's fair.
And not just Annie Ann's mall bullshit.
No, God, get that shit out of here. No, I'm with you.
People rave about this Annie Ann's. It doesn't taste like pretzel. It tastes like bread. Like, it's not the pretzel. Do you know the distinctive pretzel flavor I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
You get an Annie Ann's pretzel, it doesn't have that flavor.
It's just dough. It's just a mass of dough with salt on it. Yeah. It's
some dopey 16-year-old who can't even get the shape right. The whole gimmick is they do it in front of you. You're supposed to be. I don't need to see you make it.
Just make it. I don't give a shit.
Just fucking make it and sell it to me. I don't need that. That doesn't do anything for me. This whole trend too, like in the early aughts, was the whole new trend was open kitchens in restaurants.
The fast casual open kitchen was
fuck that. I don't want to know what's going on back there. All I want is a meal presented to me. I don't need to see the fucking chef back there. I don't even care that they're doing nasty shit. I've been in kitchens. You don't want to know.
Yeah, for sure.
And here's the thing, Rich. I don't care. I just want the meal presented to me, and I want to be ignorant.
Well, they're always better too. The places where you don't know what's going on, or like I think you and I have talked about this before, but the best Chinese restaurants are the ones where you walk in, it's like a little, it's just a counter or whatever. And I don't know if you guys have this, and I'm guessing Texas isn't really brimming with great Chinese food. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure in New Jersey you had this, and it's like you walk in. Everything's dirty. There's dead plants everywhere. You walk in, like a lady comes up. She goes, okay, one moment. She goes to the back. There's bang. I mean, just the loudest, like you have no idea what's going on back there. There's like a tarp. She goes to the back. There's just fucking walks banging off the floor and everything. She screams something and all of a sudden she comes back out with your food and you go, oh, thank you. And then you go and it's fucking delicious. I don't know what happened back there. I don't know why the walks are on the floor. I don't know why everyone's screaming at one another. I don't care. Like my fucking my sesame chicken's fantastic and that's all I care about. So.
The most, this is going to blow people's minds, but I've been in the restaurant business for decades. The cleanest and most sanitary restaurants I've ever been in are chains that hire minimum wage teenagers because they're so scared of health inspections and corporate inspections, that everyone's wearing their gloves and everyone's doing everything by the book and they're doing temperature checks 3 times a day. And the dirtiest, nastiest places I've ever worked are 5-star restaurants with executive chefs.
Yeah.
Those guys walk down the line, stick their fingers in the sauces and taste it to make sure that it tastes. I've seen chefs stick their dirty hands in food more times than I can count. And that's the kind of shit that never happens in like Pizza Hut. That never happens. Everyone's doing everything by the book in places like that because they're terrified. Executive chefs walking down the line, tasting everything, and then yelling at everybody for not making it right. Those are always the filthiest, dirtiest kitchens. Cigarettes hanging out of people's mouths as they're doing dishes, chefs sticking their fingers in the sauce. That's where people think, meanwhile, you're out there.
Yeah, you're paying $100 for this plate and they're squishing fucking bugs while they're, stirring up the sauce.
Yes. It's the total opposite you would think. So, again, people don't want to know. I don't know how M&M talk circled into this.
I have no idea. Well, we just don't really want to talk about New Japan, which is people brought up that they so badly don't want to talk about New Japan that now they're we're talking about mall food. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do have Chinese in Texas. It's just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad, but it's different.
I've had Chinese food in like random places that you wouldn't think so, and it's fine. It's okay, but yeah, there's something about like just a city or like the suburbs of a city, just like some terrible dingy strip mall building and the dead plants. The key to me is there's got to be like a dead plant in the window it hasn't been watered since like 1994. When they bought the place, they've had this plant and said, yes, like this will bring people in if we show that, and then they haven't watered it since then. It doesn't matter though, because it's still fucking tremendous. So it's greasy. It's just it's got a certain level of grease though. It can't be too greasy, but.
The thing is, like, health inspectors and people like that, they go easier on places like that than they do on, like, Burger King.
Yeah,
like,
right.
They're going to nail Burger King to the wall for every little tiny infraction. But if they walk into a 5-star restaurant or a mom-and-pop Chinese restaurant with the dead plant in the front, they're not nearly as hard on places like that. They just go easier on them. It's just, it's like they feel like they can really stick it to the corporate, quote-unquote, corporate places. And, they're not as hard on the other non-franchise style restaurants. But anyway, the New Japan franchise is not in great shape.
No, yeah. Speaking of shitty franchises that aren't as good as they should be, New Japan.
Yeah, I look, I don't think these shows were terrible, but I don't think they were good either. And the booking was, the thing about the match lengths, it's not the lengths of the matches. It's
no. People think that you and I are stopwatch guys, or that I'm a stopwatch guy, and if a match goes over 30 minutes, I'm like, I don't know. And it's like, no, dude, I just mentioned that Shingo and Hiroshi Tanahashi went 38 minutes or whatever the hell they went. Doesn't matter. This weekend, Go Shiozaki is going to go, or we'll talk about it here in a bit, is probably going to go 40 minutes with Keiji Muto or whatever. It's not about stopwatches. It's not about after over 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, that's not what's going to happen. But yeah, it's context. It's wrestlers. It's environment. It's the background, it's the build. There's so much that matters in the length of a match, and yeah, we do need to distinguish that, because I think people think that we have a stopwatch. Anytime it goes over 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, here we go. This match sucks now, and it's not the case at all.
It's like, okay, so the tag title match, they go 30 minutes. It's not that they went 30 minutes; it's that they went 30 minutes and then did comedy with the Iron Fingers and did a DQ.
Right.
Now you're just wasting my time, because you could have done all that in 13 minutes. You didn't have to go a half hour. And they did this hard-hitting, like, physical match for 23 minutes. And then it just changed on a dime when they start fighting over the Iron Glove, and they start doing the comedy from the tour. And then they do it. Then they don't even give us a finish. Then they do a DQ. And that just angered me, because now you've wasted my time. If you do that same match in 13 minutes, I'm not ranting about it right now. I may not like it, because I don't care about either one of these teams, and I don't care about the stupid Iron Glove, and I don't care about these titles, but at least you've only wasted 13 minutes of my time instead of a half hour. And you didn't drag me down this road and start telling me one story of this hard-hitting physical match where Tonga Loa is dropping people on their heads and Zack Sabre Jr. is stretching guys, and then all of a sudden you're fighting over this stupid Iron Glove, a story that I don't care about, okay? And maybe you do care about it, but you could have told this story in 12 minutes instead of 29. That's when match length becomes an issue. It's not that Hiromu and Sho went 35 minutes and broke the record for longest junior match. It's that the match was listless and not very exciting and boring. And yeah, the work was fine, but there was no story. It was your turn, my turn. And there was nothing exciting or interesting about it.
Yeah, with six different trade-offs of elbow strikes for about a minute straight too. I was like, when they did it with the third time, like, all right, we get it, guys. The elbow strikes, we got it. Move on. Like, let's find something else.
Yeah, and if you give me a great match, I don't care if it goes 35 minutes. We've praised many.
Praised 60-minute matches. In 2020, we praised multiple 60-minute matches in front of no crowds. Jeremy Wyatt, Fred Yehai would love that match. 60 minutes, no crowd. Fucking Sugiura and Go Shiozaki, 60 minutes, no, barely any crowd. Crowd that can't do anything, raved about it. Yeah, it's not the stopwatch.
Rich,
it's not at all.
Shingo and Tanahashi from last week.
Right.
It's so people are harping too much on the match length. But what the thing about it is, if the matches aren't good, okay, if you're going to go long, the match better be good. That's what this comes down to. It's not that it's the match length which is causing these matches not to be good or interesting. Okay? Hiromu's show was just a well-worked match that wasn't very interesting. I had no issues with the work. It was just dull. Mm-hmm. And there was no story, and it wasn't interesting. And then you have to sit through 35 minutes of a dull, uninteresting match with no story.
Right. I think I'm kind of curious on your thought on this, and this might be a bit of a hot take, and I don't mean to.
I have a hot take to end all hot takes in a minute, but go ahead.
Do you want? Okay. How about you do it? Because I wonder
There's
if
no way we have the same one.
We might go with yours first, and we'll see if we do.
My hot take, and everyone's going to hate my guts.
Yeah, mine is going to be, it might be the same one because everyone's going to hate mine too. So,
and I don't care because it has to be said. Hiromu Takahashi is overrated.
Oh, that was okay. Mine was a little different. Yours is a little hotter, and you are going to get a lot of shit for that one for sure.
But I think Hiromu Takahashi is overrated. He is a one-trick pony. If he's not out there putting his life in danger, he underwhelms.
Okay, so I had a similar hot take. So let me just do mine real quick, and then you can kind of go. My thing is, and it's the similar to you, is not necessarily do I think that Hiromu is overrated or stinks or whatever. I just don't know.
Oh, I didn't say he stinks.
Oh, just overrated. Okay, I got you.
Don't put words in my mouth. I don't think he stinks. I think he's great.
Reddit's
but I also think he's overrated. I think it's possible to be great and also be overrated.
Okay, that's fair. Well, my thing is not necessarily my so I'll do mine, and then you can kind of either respond or do yours. Is my thing is not necessarily that I think Hiromu is overrated or that I think Hiromu. My thing is more that if you are going to push Hiromu as a main eventer, which I think that there's definitely evidence that is worth doing, and there's definitely reasons to eventually decide that this guy is going to become a main eventer. He's going to be in the title mixes. He's going to I think he's going to be doing the anniversary show again this year. He was in the main event here of this night one of Hiroshima. It's clear that is the direction of Hiromu. The junior title that's where he's at now. But I think the long term is much bigger for Hiromu, and I think Hiromu is really good. But what I think, though, is if you are going to push Hiromu, and Hiromu is going to be in main events, that he does not excel at 35-minute, 40-minute, 30-minute matches. Now, does that make him overrated? Maybe. And that's where I'll let you kind of give your point of the argument. To me, though, I think he's a guy who, I wouldn't call him a one-trick pony. I wouldn't say that he's a guy who only, when he's trying to kill himself is good. I think he's best, though, when he does that. I think he excels at those matches that are kind of car crashes, that are short, that are compact, that are, this guy's going to kill himself to win this match in as quickly or as short as time as possible. To me, those are the matches where Hiromu really excels, and that's where he's really great. So to me, if I'm deciding, hey, this guy who I think is going to be a big draw and is a good merch seller and is popular or whatever, if we're going to push him in main events, then we don't need to put him in this, okay, well, you're in a main event now, so this main event's got to go 30 minutes. That is my concern with Hiromu, is that I think he's really, really good at what he does, And I think there's a way to maximize what you have with Hiromu. Putting him in main events and having him go 40 minutes, I don't think is maximizing his talents. I don't think it's utilizing him in the best way. Now, you may interpret that as him being overrated. I interpret that in New Japan having one style that they want for their main events and not being able to adapt or change to it, because I do think that you can have a Hiromu main event against Okada or whatever, Naito or whatever, and you can do that match, but it can go 15 minutes. It can go with Hiromu trying to bust his ass to die to win that match, and I think that's fine with me, and I'd be totally okay with that. But so we have kind of the same thought, but you're interpreting. I'm looking at New Japan and saying, hey guys, adapt your style to this guy, maximize his talents. Like, the famous example that I always bring up is, when WWF signs, or WWE at that time signed they signed Scott Steiner, and they decide, all right, Steiner, Big Papa Pump, you're in a main event with Triple H. You got to go 40 minutes now at the Royal Rumble and do a back and forth thing, because Triple H is doing his Harley Race thing right now. And it exposed Scott Steiner, and he was immediately done. They did the same thing with Goldberg at the same time. They decided, well, kid, if you're working our style, you got to work our style. And they didn't maximize what Goldberg gave them. And instead, they ended up flopping. Both Steiner and Goldberg ended up flopping when I think that they had some life to them. And Goldberg eventually, would come back later and prove that, hey, I'm pretty good if you just put me in, 2 to 5 minute matches or whatever. That to me is my interpretation. We have the same point. Maybe we've come to the same conclusion. But for me, I look at it as, let's maximize what Hiromu does bring us. And maybe you have a different take on that by you thinking that he's overrated. So I'll let you have the floor.
I just think when he has a match like this, he's a very average wrestler. That's all. I don't think he's bad. And I still think he's a great wrestler. And I don't expect the guy to go out there. He already broke his neck once. And ironically, it wasn't even with one of his wacky moves. It was just a bump that went bad. And I don't expect him to go out there, and especially as he gets older, and put his body on the line and almost kill himself every time he wrestles. That's not fair to expect out of him either. But I've just seen too many examples over the last year or so or since he's come back, really, where he has matches like this where he tries to work in a different way and it just doesn't land. He's just not very good. He's not as good as when he's out there trying to kill himself.
I agree. And
I agree with everything you said, because I just don't think he excels at this style, and his matches, they end up being dull. He's best in the world at one specific thing. Because when he is having his style of match, he can't be touched, right? But then he goes out and has a match like this, and this is not an anomaly. There's other examples of match. His last match with Show from December wasn't anything.
The evil match from last year, the main event.
Yeah, the evil match. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and it's like a lot of people didn't like the Wrestle Kingdom match against Ishimori. I like that better than this one. But again, I think he loses a lot when he's not out there wrestling like a wild man with no regard for his body. And I don't think, I think he's a great wrestler, but I do think he's overrated to some extent. I think there's, he's not well-rounded enough, and there's too many matches like this. And I don't know. He's not a guy where, I'll be honest with you, there's times I'm not excited to watch him wrestle. Depending on opponent and what I think he's going to do. And then there's other times where it's like, I know they're going to, if he wrestles Will Ospreay or something, obviously it's going to be great. If he wrestles, Desperado, or, he's in a Super Junior match and he's in the semi-main event against a guy and I know they're just going to go wild, but, the whole big picture, this is a thought I've been having for a while, but I've just never said it because I didn't want to deal with it. But I do think to some extent he's an overrated wrestler. Because there's people who think he's best in the world, and I don't even think he's not best in the world. That's a crazy take. He just, I think he loses a lot of his charisma too when he wrestles this style. So I don't know. That's my take. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think he stinks. I'm not trying to be Stephen A. Smith. I just think he's a little overrated. I do. I do truly believe he's a little overrated.
Yeah, so we have kind of the same, because I don't think he excels in these style of matches, and I guess that to me is going to be the thing that if I'm New Japan, I wonder moving forward. Okay, because I don't think that this train's going to stop. I think that they're obviously going to continue to push him throughout this next year. The anniversary show, he's probably going to be against Naito because that's what they wanted to do last year and it didn't quite happen. Like the trajectory of Hiromu. Yeah.
I question if he can hang as a main eventer now in the heavyweight style. I don't, because the matches are dull.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't disagree. But then I wonder does New Japan say, if you're New Japan, do you say, okay, let's adapt or kind of change what we consider a quote unquote main event style to what this guy does well, because there's undeniable that he's popular. It's undeniable that there's something there with him, that there's a crowd attachment, that we think he's the guy, that we're going to try him out as a star. Do you think that they are strict on, okay, well, you're going to have to work these types of matches and you have to get better at it? Or do they adapt what they think of as a main event style and kind of adapt it to him? And it's going to be an interesting push and pull, because I completely don't disagree with you at all that is going to come to a head, because I don't think you could just, in a year's time, push this guy to have 40-minute main events, every single, big month or whatever. I just don't see it in him, and that's fine. Like, to me, I don't care. I don't need that, but it seems like you kind of need or want him to prove it in that standpoint before you really push him as a main eventer.
Yeah, I mean, look, he obviously has charisma and he's popular and all that. And look, maybe he can evolve and get better at this style. I don't know. There's just a certain way you need to work at the top of a New Japan card, and I don't know. Here's the thing.
But do you? I guess that's my question, is do you?
That is your question. But it's like, I don't think he can keep. See, I don't know. I don't even know if it's fair to expect him to go out there and put his life in danger every time he wrestles either. I think for the sake of his career and his body, he's trying to learn how to throw forearms at show for 35 minutes instead of falling on his neck for 30.
Sure, it's definitely the better long-term strategy is let me learn how to, throw elbow strikes and work over a body part instead of, do fucking cannonballs into the corner every single time that I'm in a match.
And I think it's fair to say he doesn't have great chemistry with Sho. Because I didn't love their December match. I didn't think Hiromu had a great Super Junior tournament. I think it was good, but I've seen better Super Junior tournaments in recent years than the one he had last year from him and from other people. A lot of the matches in his Super Junior were really good matches that were missing something, or they were a little listless. He topped out at like 4 stars for most of those matches. I'm talking the round robin portion. I'm looking back at my notes now to see if my memory matches what I actually thought in real time. And I thought he peaked with the Robbie Eagles match. I went 4.25 on that. And these are just dopey star ratings, but it's a good idea of what I was thinking at the time. And then he had a couple matches where I went 4 flat, against Dokai, against Sho. And it's like, this is Hiromu, though. And this is a guy who some people think is the best wrestler in the world. How come he's not going out there and putting up 4.5 stars every night in a tournament like Best of Super Junior? Because it's just something always seems to be missing with him. And it doesn't mean that I don't think he's great, because I do. But I just think that, there's no other, I don't know. I'm going to keep repeating myself. I just think he's a little overrated. That doesn't mean I think he's not good. That doesn't mean I don't think he's great. But I do think he's overhyped to some extent. And his output since he's returned from the injury has been a little spotty. Is that totally unfair?
No, and I agree with you. To me, the stuff that he's excelled at is the stuff that he's always excelled at. The kind of the car crash matches, the matches against high flyers, the matches against juniors, the ones that are a little bit more compact, like that sort of stuff. I think he's still excelled in. But you're absolutely right that there are a few examples, especially in main events over the last year, where in the big time spots, it has felt kind of dull at times. But again, I don't know if that's something that. To me, I'm saying, hey, you have Hiromu, and I think Hiromu is really, really good. So do you adapt and change and sort of tailor your style? Do you tailor to him, or do you tell him he has to tailor his style? Because whatever's going on, I don't know that what's going on right now is going to work if he's in multiple 40 minutes. So something needs to change one way or another. Either he's got to adapt his style, or New Japan has to adapt their style. And I don't know. It's interesting.
Or, I mean, he's just going to wrestle this way in main events, and they're going to draw money, and we're just not going to like them that much. I mean, what did you think of this Hiromu Sho match? I thought it was a dreadfully boring match, that the work was fine. It had no connective tissue. They didn't tell a story that I could decipher, and they just took turns, and it was, and because it was so long, it made it worse. Because I thought it was like a 3.25 star match or something. And this is a main event of a show, and it's Hiromu Takahashi. This is a guy who you should be able to write it down. This guy's going to threaten the 5-star scale every time he gets in the ring, based on his reputation and what we've seen from him. So that's what I mean when I say he's overrated. I could start naming wrestlers that I'm not going to do it because I'm going to get in enough trouble for this tape.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like they're not going to put up a match like this in this spot. Come on now. And there's a number of them. There's not a whole litany of them because there might be only 15 or 20 guys better than him in the world. He's great. Yeah. But I just don't think he's like, I can't put him in the conversation for best wrestler in the world when matches like this show match are just far too common. And he hasn't shown that, he's trying to force this square peg in a round hole. He's not cut out for this style. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I did not love the match either. I thought it was fine, but I'm the same way. I was just bored. I was just like, okay, what are we doing here? What's going on? And then as the match is going and going and going, I'm like, oh man, we're gonna go 30 minutes here. We're just gonna stretch this thing out. And it felt like they had a 15-minute match, and they got the call that, hey, you guys are going 30 minutes, so decided to fill that time with elbow strikes or something like that. So I mean, ultimately, I thought it was like okay. It was fine. It definitely hurt that it was like right after the fucking horrendous tag team title match that I just never want to remember ever again. That probably hurt a little bit. Maybe on its own, I'd like it a little bit more, but I don't know. It was fine. Like I didn't. I'm with you though that to me the ceiling or the kind of the trajectory of main events in New Japan probably should be a little bit higher than what these guys did here. So it makes me worry a little bit for both these guys, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Show is a whole nother conversation. I'm cooling off on him too. I mean, I thought maybe he was someone who can break out and also possibly become a heavyweight. I'm not seeing that right now. And again, this also could be because these two guys just don't work that great together, or just their minds don't work as well to put together a super compelling match, or whatever the issue is. But I've definitely cooled off on Show to some extent as well, to where I think maybe he just really is just a nice little junior, and maybe that ceiling that I thought was, maybe if everything breaks right. I didn't think he was like some kind of lock to become a megastar. Right. But of course not. But it was more like, okay, if everything breaks right, maybe this guy, because he's a power junior. Well,
after those Shingo matches last year, I mean, man, it felt like the trajectory was like fucking unbelievable.
Well,
like,
you know what? Because you brought that up, there's Shingo and then there's Hiromu. And I don't mean that as an insult, but Shingo is a lock to deliver every time any opponent. I mean, to me, that's why I can't call Hiromu the best in the world when people like Shingo exist. And it's like, when have we ever come on this show and talked about a Shingo match like we're talking about this match in a main event of a show? It doesn't happen. The guy's a machine. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I didn't want to get into comparing him to other wrestlers because then you know how that goes. And I don't want to really deal with that. And it's like, but that's a perfect look. I mean, look at the Shingo matches versus the same opponent, and we have, and again, maybe it's just these two guys not having, sometimes wrestlers don't have chemistry.
Right. But, sometimes two great wrestlers, it just doesn't work. Yeah. Many examples.
But I also wasn't blown away by Hiromu's Super Junior. And some of his other matches over the last year where to me, and it's like, all right, I didn't really say anything at the time because it's like, pandemic and, it's one match, everybody has but now it's kind of a trail here of matches that underwhelm. And keep in mind, some of these matches, I even said, all right, I went 4 stars on them.
Right. It's just, you go in with a little bit more expectations than that. And
I think the bar is so high with this guy. That's why I say it's possible to be overrated and still be great.
Right. And again, like, I don't think it's, I mean, this was a 35, whatever the hell it was, 36-minute junior match featuring Hiromu Takahashi in the main event of a show. On Cage Match right now, 7.51, which again is a decent rating. That's a good match rating, but we're talking, I mean, 35 minutes with Hiromu in a main event, like you expect a little bit more. On Cage Match, or on Grapple, I should say, it's under 4 stars right now by average, 3.86.
Wait, so Hiromu show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an underwhelming match.
And
I didn't even say.
Yeah,
I don't think either one of us said it was a bad match.
No.
But
I'm just saying it's so.
match.
I'm just saying it's not Joe and Rich or Grumps and dislike this match and think it sucks or whatever. A lot of people also agree that it was a little underwhelming and didn't quite deliver. And that to me is a little, it makes me worry a little bit because it's like, man, that should have been like if you read it on paper. And I told you didn't watch it. And I said Hiromu and Sho went 35 minutes in the main event in a junior match. You're probably thinking, oh man, that had to be awesome. And then you see these and it's like, yeah, no, it was good. it was just good, which, yeah, I guess I don't know if that's our own expectations. We have to adjust our expectations, but I mean, this is a company that's delivered on that level in main events for a decade now. So, I mean,
just go out there and have a Hiromu match. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel?
I mean, that's what I agree with. Yeah. I mean, that's my stance.
I mean, and I know that's what you're saying too, but it's like, go out there and have a Hiromu match. I mean, it's like, we saw this against Evil too. And okay, that's a bigger opponent and all that, but this is a junior match.
Right.
Go out there and have a junior match. You don't have to prove anything to me by throwing fucking forearms for 35 minutes. I don't want to see that. It's not as interesting. It's not what you do best. And it wasn't like Sho dragged Hiromu into his match. He didn't grapple him. This was Hiromu and Sho trying to like prove something that we can go out there and throw forearms and it didn't land. And if it was a one-off, that's one thing. I don't know. I just kind of see it's kind of been a pattern. So, at the risk of repeating myself, I'm going to stop. He's slightly overrated. He's a great wrestler who's a little overrated. I think there's a handful of wrestlers who are clearly, I wouldn't put them, because of matches like this.
So you mentioned the tag team title match. I don't know that we need to go into too much more because I don't want to waste people's time on a match that wasted everyone's time again. Yeah. But I mean, it went 30 minutes and then it was a DQ, which always sucks. I mean, I get mad when matches are 15 minutes and they go to DQ. It's just when it's a long match to end it on a DQ is just it's infuriating. It's infuriating in any company, but especially this one. It stands out even a little bit more. So
yeah, no, it's just a terrible finish. If you're going to do a match of that length, my issue isn't even necessarily with the finish. It's whatever, because I don't care about these guys anyway, either team. But a half hour and then you do all that at the end.
Right. It feels like a slap of a face. It feels like a slap in the face. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the rest of this was a lousy show. This Hiroshima show, this first night, it just wasn't good. I mean, Naito just definitively put this Hanma thing behind them, but that was just a tag. And the Sonata Ibushi, they just couldn't, those guys couldn't get heat with a blowtorch on this whole tour. I mean, the Naito Hanma thing felt hotter.
Oh, absolutely. I was way more looking forward to a Naito Hanma match that we never got, in full. But yeah, I couldn't wait for that match. And I was just kind of dreading Ibushi and Sonata, which we'll talk about here in a bit. I was right to dread that match coming up. So.
Yeah, and the most interesting match on night one to me, honest to God, was the opener with Uemura stepping up to Minoru Suzuki. Uemura, to me, is high praise. And again, I'm not making a one-to-one comp. To me, I'm seeing some Shibata in this guy. That's what I see.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I don't think that's super hot. I mean, I think when he came in, I saw the same thing. I mean, the look, the appearance. I think we maybe made that comp when he first appeared. That's why I think we made the comp of, he looks like a 1993, like, New Japan Young Lion guy that's, the seconding, Koji Kanemoto out to the ring or whatever. But like, no, I think, yeah, I see the Shibata in him too. I really do. I think sky's the limit for that guy. I think he's tremendous and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, will he reach the peaks that Shibata, reached? I don't know, but I don't think you're nuts for seeing a little bit of him in that.
Yeah, and I think this is deliberate, this Suzuki stuff, kind of to give people the impression that this guy is going to be hard hitting when he's fully formed.
Yeah, and they get it. I mean, if you look at the book, and I think I talked about it in the ebook, is you look at the booking of him and you look at the way the people that he's in there with. It's not just you and it's not Joe and Rich who think Uemura is but look at the booking. Look who he's in the ring with. Look who he interacts with. Like he interacts with main roster guys a lot. The other guys do not. The other guys will occasionally jump in there, and Yota Tsuji, jumps in there, but Yota Tsuji's kind of like, the understudy of Hiroshi Tanahashi. That's the style. Uemura is not the understudy. Uemura is like getting in there and mixing it up with these other guys and punching them back and doing that sort of stuff. So it's clear that they definitely see something for this guy in the future. So no doubt.
No great matches on night 2 either.
No, definitely not.
The Kota Ibushi Sonata match, I mean, they had the disappointing G1 match that was mostly botchless. So this was like regressing back to the mean, because I thought Sonata was terrible in this match. And not just the obvious stuff like the cutter to the floor, which was one of the most embarrassing spots you'll see in New Japan.
So bad.
I mean, but he was, then he did a pop-up cutter in the ring a few minutes later where it was just he did it to air. He was nowhere near Ibushi on that one. They actually replayed that cutter to the floor. What are they replaying?
I know. What do you do? Like, dude, I have a buddy who works in he works in he's like one of the big replay guys for all the major sports. So he's everywhere. He was just at the Super Bowl doing all that sort of stuff. Like they have this like crew, and they're like the top replay crew in the world. And my buddy somehow found a way to get in there. It's a fascinating job to learn the world of sports replays or whatever. But there's a guy's job. There's one guy that sits there, and his job is to watch it and go, nope. No, and cut it exactly. And you have about 4 seconds to decide what you're going to do. But I think, like, how do you not see that this is not what you want to go to a replay to? Especially in New Japan, where it's not, on the Super Bowl, you're replaying every single play over and over again. You need to find the right shot, the right angle, when to cut it, all that sort of stuff. New Japan shows like what, 3-4 replays a show at most? I mean, 4 or 5. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 a match or whatever. Who said, yeah, let's show this? Saw it in the replay monitor and said, yeah, sure, let's show this one again. Like, that's when you just dump. That's when you hit the delete on and go, we'll grab it another time, guys. We don't need that one. That was brutal.
This is this was similar to the Hiromu show match, except the Hiromu show match was better worked. This was listless and just dull, but also featured some sloppy work. Look, I don't think it was. Now, maybe I do think it was bad. I was going to say I don't think it was, but maybe it was bad. I mean,
I thought it was bad.
I didn't enjoy it.
I have no issue saying it was bad. I thought this match sucked. I really did not like it. I mean, the baseline of work was good, but that's not enough.
Was it though? I mean, I don't even know if the baseline of work was
good.
Good.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, Kota, I thought Kota was fine in it, but not enough to overcome what I thought was a horrendous.
Yeah, Sonata was bad. It had no heat coming in. The winner was never in doubt. That's another big problem. You could overcome that, but they didn't, and it just wasn't interesting. That's the problem. These 2 main events just weren't interesting. And I don't know. I thought it was like a 3-star match. And I don't think that's not the New Japan standard. What we've learned here since New Japan has restarted is that they are no longer a lock to have great big shows, because they have had a lot of big shows since the restart in this pandemic era that have just not been good shows at all. These 2 weren't good. Last summer, I thought they had a 3 or 4 show string that weren't good. They're just not a lock, and some of it's atmosphere, but you know what? Other companies are overcoming the atmosphere. So I don't think that's too easy just to blame the atmosphere and to blame COVID when everyone's working under the same handicaps and other companies are able to overcome it.
Well, yeah, I talked about it a few weeks ago. Like, I'm done with that either, because you've had a year now to adapt and learn. I get right out of the gates, New Japan Cup, I get it. It's like, man, what the hell is going on? How do we work in front of no fans? Or even the first little run of clap crowds. It's like, oh man, this is weird. We've had a year now. I mean, nothing is new about the world that we're living in right now. We're all used to this. We all know what's going on. And yeah, it's on you now for not adapting, because other companies have adapted and thrived.
Well, I don't even think there's anything different that they can do. It just, I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're not allowed to cheer. It's not a New Japan mandate, right? I mean, isn't that the country, or is it a New Japan? I mean, I don't know the ins and outs.
I believe it's a country mandate, because I remember there was those videos of people going to theme parks and scream with your mind or whatever the hell, scream with your heart or whatever the thing was.
Nothing else they can do. I just think it is what it is, but I just don't think it's the atmosphere. I think we're in a new era of this company. It just is what they are now. And this second show is just an overbooked mess. I mean, the whole Monday Night Raw thing with Okada and Evil, it's just embarrassing. But I will say this. It was far less offensive to me than the tag team title DQ, because they didn't waste a half hour of my time.
True.
The tag match,
okay.
The tag match, they did the double count out in a minute. And then Okada starts shit talking Evil and trying to bait him into a match. And Evil's like, fuck you, I'm not wrestling you. So in a big surprise, Teddy Long comes out and he goes, hold on now, player.
yeah. Whoa.
Whoa, hold on now, player.
Yeah.
With his oversized suit. And he makes the match.
Evil. You're not getting away that easily.
Right. And they make the match and they get in there, and then they only waste 5 more minutes of my time.
Right.
Until Dick Togo. Why did Dick Togo? Let me ask you a question.
If you're asking
Dick
why he
Togo,
waited, that's a pro wrestling thing that annoys me to no end. Is let me run in when you're on the ropes after 29 minutes of this match or whatever. Yeah, no. And this time he just gave him 5 minutes and then ran in. So
no, you got it wrong. No, he ran in when Evil had Okada in a submission hold.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why didn't he come in when Okada had Evil in the money clip?
I don't know.
Like
taking
Evil's
a dump backstage. I don't know.
That's when he should come in. He comes in when Evil's on the verge of winning and attacks him, which even made less sense. This whole thing was a mess.
It was so bad.
But it was so short that, and it was in the mid card that I didn't care.
I guess.
Whereas,
it's pretty horrendous no matter what. But
it's bad. No, listen,
I'm with you. I agree. If you're gonna suck and be brutal, at least suck and be brutal for 5 minutes as opposed to 30, for sure.
In the mid card too, as opposed to a tag team title match where I have to endure a half hour to get to Iron Glove silliness. Right? This was just mid card stuff, setting up a singles match that nobody cares about or wants to see.
Nobody in the world wants to see. Yeah.
And Evil is just a fucking drain on this company. Evil and Dick Togo.
He fucking sucks. Yeah, both of them suck. Sorry, Dick Togo. I love Dick Togo, but you fucking stink.
I don't love
go
this
away.
Dick Togo.
Yeah, go away. I don't want you anymore. Go back to...
This is in 1997. This isn't my Dick Togo. I don't love this Dick Togo. This Dick Togo going to hit the bricks. Okay? Evil and Togo are a drain. They drag everything they're involved with down to their level.
And everybody they're involved with down to their level, too. It takes them months to recover from an evil reign.
It's garbage. And and then I guess the Never match was pretty good. But I will say this. Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi are, without question, the best Never Openweight 6-man champions of all time. They didn't get enough credit for their matches last year that were very good because a lot of people had hand-waved the company by then. There's a great title reign. And I thought they were going to lose. And I really like the story of this match where Yoshihashi is just taking this horrible beating and then he comes back and wins in the end as they continue to, build him up. I'm not saying they're ever going to push him as a single because they're not. But it's a nice little story they're telling.
This is fine. Honestly, if this is the peak of Yoshihashi, I'm fine with it because he's not a dork. He's not a geek anymore. Like you might think people can still use that term. I don't use that. I think you're a dork and a geek if you're in just random undercards, or I think you're a dork or a geek if occasionally you get a title match and then you just absolutely bomb and then go back or whatever. Like because that's what Yoshihashi was for a while. Eventually they'd be out of people and here's a U.S. title match or here's a Never Openweight title match, and he'd be like a dork and he'd have a so-so match and get killed and then go right back to the undercard. That's a dork. A guy that goes out there and says, you know what, look. This is my lot in life now is these Never Openweight 6-mans, but to me this is the main event. This is the world championship for me. And that's I buy into that Yoshihashi story, and I love that story. I love the idea of a guy saying, you know what? No, this is my title. I don't care what other people think of this title. This is the most important title to me, and he wrestles like it's the most important title to him. And he's awesome, and I love this. They're far and away the best champions. The only ones there was that random Satoshi Kojima, what was it? Satoshi Kojima, David Finlay, and Ricochet crew that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was supposed to be Matt Sydal, but he had a problem with the smoky, so that the synthetic smoky, and they said, you got to go now, buddy. So bye.
Yeah, but that's the best match of this show. I thought it was better than the main event.
Oh, unquestionably. Oh, no doubt.
But nothing great on either of these shows. Didn't even think about cracking my notebook for any of this slop. Disappointing, and the bar's a little higher for New Japan.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out real quick, really interesting here. So the Kotobushi Sonata on Cage Match, 8.45 right now on Cage Match, which definitely not what you and I thought of that match.
I guess people liked it. I don't know. I mean,
but on Grapple, 3.63 on Grapple.
I think that's more in line. I mean, I'm even lower than that, but and you just flat out called it bad. So you're lower than that as well. I mean, I thought it was like a 3-star match.
Yeah, I went about 3.25. I think is what I officially rated it as. So,
I mean, 3.63. I think that's fair. I mean, it's higher than I would go, but
Yeah, 8.45 seems. I don't know. That seems a little wild. So we'll see how that.
Yeah, it got about the same rating as Hiromu and Sho on Grapple, which I think is fair. I thought they were about. Look, I thought Hiromu and Sho had better work.
Yes.
I thought Hiromu and Sho had better work, cleaner work. I think Ibushi and Sonata had a much better and more exciting closing stretch with sloppier work. But otherwise, they were both very dull and uninteresting. That's my
Yeah, no,
that's
for
my
sure.
take in comparison.
Yeah, and I think the question now, for me at least, is there's Sonata, who we know he's just a fucking dork and he stinks or whatever. Whatever. I'm done with the Sonata thing. I just don't want to deal with him anymore. I don't really care.
Sonata's a guy I think they can pop a house with once a year for a title shot.
Yeah, exactly. That's his lot in life, and that's fine. That's fine. So
yeah.
I'll admit that I was wrong in thinking he was going to be a star, that he was going to be this monumental star or whatever. It's just not going to happen.
You know what? He kind of is a star, but he's not a guy you're going to build your company around or push as the top guy.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he'll get those shots and he'll sell some tickets, and he's obviously pretty popular. So that's good. But yeah.
But again, there's also a working standard, and I think they understand that he doesn't meet that.
Yeah, well,
standard.
and that's what I mean. Like, I think they have seen that he fails a strong word, but as I guess that's that he's failed at reaching that standard. So they're fine with him just being occasionally a guy that pops up in title matches, then goes back down and does other stuff. And that's I think we've seen that already. I mean, these last 2 years would have been the time to make him a bona fide every month type of guy, and he's not that, and that's fine, that's okay. But yeah, that's clear what they thought. But what I was going to bring up is this Kota Ibushi reign that we've had so far. What do you make of the Kota Ibushi double title reign that we've had? Right now we've had obviously the Wrestle Kingdom, and we had the build to these New Beginning shows, which there was some interesting stuff there with Kota Ibushi, but it's not a good first start here with Sonata. I mean, this is a feud that has just had no juice, and I hate to blame it. I don't want to blame it all on Kota Ibushi, but I'm going to put a little bit on him as well, where it's just like, let's go, man. Let's get some energy. Let's do this.
I don't know. He's had one match against a Sonata. I don't know. I think it's too soon to tell. I mean, he's going to wrestle Naito next, and they always have great matches no matter what. I'm not so sure about the story going into that.
Yeah, you want to talk about that now? So
yeah.
So after the match, Kota Ibushi wins, obviously. Naito comes out, and everyone's thinking, oh, okay, here we go. Naito versus Kota Ibushi, double titles. A little rematch from Wrestle Kingdom, and then Naito says, yeah, Intercontinental title. I'll go for that title. And here we are. So
yeah, I mean, I think that with the Castle Attack being a double night, because it's a double night, correct? I think that you're probably going to get a second Ibushi match for the other title, because you can't just have him defend and lose the Intercontinental, because then your world champion's a geek who just lost. So the next night he'll have to successfully defend against someone with the big belt to kind of get his heat back, so to speak. And I think Shingo's perfect for that spot. So you might get Naito on night 1 and Shingo on night 2. And then
I'd flip that, actually, if I were you. It seems weird. I know it seems weird.
Yeah.
But to me, I like the idea of Shingo taking Kota Ibushi to his absolute fucking limit on night 1, 40 minutes, you know what I mean? And it's just like, then Kota Ibushi comes the next night, and he's all bandaged up, he's all taped up, and he's like, all right, let's go. And the burden of being the double champion is now seen in this night, where he just can't do it, and Naito beats him because, it doesn't make Kota Ibushi, and not that Kota Ibushi would look like a geek losing to Naito anyway, but there's the easy out of like, oh, the burden of being the double champion, it's just too much for anybody to handle. It's so hard for someone to handle, and Kota Ibushi, could not handle it because it's just so hard to face guys on back-to-back nights or whatever. So that's what I would do. I mean, it seems weird though that you're the second night is the IC, but it's a guy of Naito's level, so I don't think that'd be so ridiculous to have it be there, and it's gonna be awkward and it's gonna be weird, and honestly, we mentioned this. You go back to when they first announced these double titles, and New Japan fans first got mad at us and decided that we hated New Japan and they hated us and all that sort of stuff. Is when you and I, from day one, and I remember us bringing up this exact scenario, is that yes, you can have a double champion, but at some point this double champion either has to lose to a guy of an IC level, which doesn't look good, or somebody has to come out and go, yeah, I want the IC titles. And it's like, really? You don't want I got this title too. You want this one? They're like, no, I want the IC title. It's like, all right, you can have the secondary title. That was always going to be an awkward thing, is that either the guy with the double championships was going to lose to somebody that is quote unquote below his level, or a guy that is his level is going to challenge for the second title for some reason.
Yeah, this stinks, and I don't like it.
Well, we're here, and they were going to have to do this anyway, which is, again, why I said don't do these fucking double titles. Like, it's stupid.
I disagree that they have to do this, though. All you have to do is have Ibushi come out, cut a promo, and say, I have achieved my godlike status. I did what I wanted to do. I don't have time to defend both of these titles. I respect it too much to keep it on the back burner, so I'm vacating the Intercontinental title.
But
Done.
I think the problem with that, though, is you would have had to. I think you would have had to do that with Naito originally.
You can do it now.
I think it makes Ibushi kind of look like a dork, though, if he's like, I can't do this. Well, because the guy just did it last year. The guy just defended both titles.
Yeah, but he defended them together.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But why is Kota defending him separately?
Because I think the way out of it is he's being challenged for it separately, right? So he can say, look, I respect this too much. It's the Nakamura belt. It's not fair to the lineage and the history of this great title. I don't want it anymore. Or something to that effect. And I don't think that makes him look like a geek. I mean, but now they've botched it all up because they already had Naito challenge for it. You know what I mean? He could have just given a promo and said that this title deserves better than what I can give it. I'm only one man. I guess he can't say that because he's a god, but you get the idea.
Yeah, right.
Just fucking vacate it. They boxed themselves into these corners, and you don't have to, right? They
didn't have to do it 2 years, and they did it 2 years ago. They boxed.
I'm going to tell you why they did it for Naito, though. This is why I'm okay with doing it for Naito. He has to have something Okada never had.
Sure.
So his whole arc was finally beating Okada, but not just beating Okada, but achieving something that Okada has never achieved and can't ever achieve, and that's being the first double champion. Okada can never do that. Naito has that over Okada forever. For till the end of the world. So I didn't have a problem with that. Now, do I think Naito should have vacated it the way I just laid out? Yes. They didn't do that. But now Ibushi can just vacate it. I don't understand why. It's not this complicated riddle or puzzle to get out of this, but they're making it one. And they're making it overly convoluted. Just fucking vacate it. It's not a big deal. And then you could have Will Ospreay and somebody else fight over it next month, and it would be a gigantic achievement for somebody like Will Ospreay to win it. Even though the other guy just gave it up. Because number one, he's a heel. He can prance around and act like it's the more important. There's a million different things you could do. Just give it up. Why make it this complicated riddle? Why have Naito come out and challenge for the lesser belt? It's bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sucks, though, because, again, you go back and listen to the episode that we did when they announced these double titles, and we had mentioned that this exact scenario would come to a head, and we had no idea what 2020 would bring to us, but we both kind of, I think I was on record as saying that, yeah, have Naito win both of the belts, and the day after go, hey, you know what? I got both the belts. I did it. I unified it. I reached my goal. But, you know, the top, to me, I've always considered the IWGP title the main title. So that's the one I'm going to keep, and I'm going to vacate the IC title and let other people fight for it. I said that's what they should do. They should do that immediately after Wrestle Kingdom.
You were right.
And they should have done that. And then the longer they didn't do it, and the longer they kept these titles together, I said that we would reach this scenario where, yeah, you have either a champion lose to a guy beneath him, where, Kota Ibushi loses a match to Will Ospreay, like you said, to get the title, or Naito loses to Will Ospreay last year, or whatever, or whoever it is, insert a name of, or you have Naito come out and say, I want the IC title, and it's like, oh, okay, like, sure, you could have the second title, that's fine, and then, like, cause that's what they would have had to do if they boxed themselves in this corner, and they did, and here we are. So I don't know. I mean, like, I guess just rip the Band-Aid off at this point. Like, it sucks, and I don't like it, but at least moving forward, having the separate titles, I think is going to be important. Unless Kota Ibushi just beats Naito and has both the titles again, which I really don't think is going to happen. But who knows? Who the hell knows anymore with New Japan? So
I mean, it stinks how they're getting out of it. It's just, I don't like this at all. But I do think that he should defend the other title on the other show. I like your idea of him being worn out and that being his out for losing. But I really don't care. I think as long as he wins defending the big belt, he doesn't look as much of a geek for losing the lesser belt. You can't just have him go out there and lose the lesser belt and then just carry on as the world champion. He looks like an absolute geek if you do that. And so he's got to beat somebody on the other show. So hopefully that's what they're doing, but they really need to get on with it and figure out who it's going to be. Otherwise, that might not be what they're doing, and they might really just be doing this. And if Naito's just challenging for one belt, he has to win, right? He can't lose. That doesn't make sense.
You're right, but I don't know anymore with these guys, but there you go.
I don't know either.
We used to be able to predict in lockstep with New Japan, and these days it's becoming much more difficult. So that is New Japan Pro Wrestling. We have reviews up on the website.
Well, I guess we should say that it's going to probably be Okada and Evil, and then the whole ELP Hiromu thing, which if you've been listening to this show, you knew that this was how it's going to play out. ELP is going to beat him.
Oh, yeah.
And then Hiromu's going to chase, because that's what they were going to do last year. But they're also going to have matches for the one show is going to be for the tag titles, the other show is going to be for the singles title.
Right.
And then we've got, of course, Tanahashi and Okan. Okan should win that. And then, I don't know what you do with Shingo, Will Ospreay. They're not really set up for anything.
No, I mean, there was a moment where Ibushi on one of the Road 2 shows, I think the second, I want to say, where Shingo was on commentary and Ibushi just walked up to him and showed him both the titles and made funny faces at him, and Shingo kind of gave him a death stare, and then they never followed up on that, which to me, I was like, oh, well, there you go. We're building up to a Shingo Kota Ibushi, but we haven't gotten there, and Castle Attack's very soon, so I don't know when they're going to do that.
I think that's what they're going to do. I ultimately think they're going to do Shingo. But Will Ospreay conspicuously has nothing going on. Mm-hmm. But do you want to beat him right now?
Nah, not really.
In his first IWGP title match, I don't know if you want to do that. You could beat Shingo. That doesn't matter. He's never winning it anyway. So I think that's ultimately the direction they go. But here's my takeaways. These shows weren't great. New Japan's not a lock to have great shows anymore. They're still capable of having great shows. They're still capable of having the best shows in the world. Wrestle Kingdom was phenomenal, both nights. But, especially with the limited roster, you're going to have days like this. These two back-to-back shows, they weren't good. And, man, Empire, you compare the first New Beginning to these two. I mean, they are stirring the drink right now. These New Japan shows are really lacking something when Empire is not around. So I think that had a factor, too, with these two shows. Because that great Okan-Tenzan match and that Ospreay-Kojima match felt hot. And they really added some juice to the first New Beginning show, which obviously had the great main event. And then these shows were just listless. Totally listless all the way through.
So we got about another hour here, so we'll quickly go over these.
We gotta go. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get through these two shows.
We got challenged, Rich, and we're failing.
We're failing, but we're not gonna. No, we're gonna succeed because these two previews, I think, will go pretty quick. NXT TakeOver, Vengeance Day on Valentine's Day. So if you are a sad, lonely individual, you can sit home on Sunday night and watch NXT TakeOver. Vengeance Day.
I'm not a sad individual, and I'll be sitting home Sunday night. I think everyone will be sitting home Sunday night.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. I mean,
pandemic.
I mean, I'm probably not doing anything either. I'll probably just make dinner and then watch this as well. So,
I mean, a lot of people are going to go out. I mean, because we punted the pandemic like 8 months ago.
Yeah, right.
You know what I think? It's like everyone gets mad at Casey Catanzaro and Ricochet, and it's like, you think they're the only ones?
Jesus, no. Go to my follow my Facebook. Look on my Instagram. Yeah, I am now one of the only ones that still is trying to do some stuff.
Even in wrestling though, they have become the lightning rods only because she's so brazen about it.
She shares it all. You just go and do it without having a fucking Instagram live about you doing it.
I assure you, these entire rosters, NXT, AEW, WWE, they're all doing it, especially the younger you get. These people in their 20s, they're all out there partying, all of them. Rich, society at large, people in their 20s aren't respecting this thing. Why do you think the first people in line for the vaccine after the frontline workers and the seniors are young adults in their 20s? Because we accept that none of them are going to conform and stay in the house. That's why they're first in line for that vaccine to begin with.
Me and the nurse were talking about that yesterday, that in a weird way, and I know that it would the public, the PR of it would be such a disaster to put 20-year-olds in the front of the line for vaccines or whatever. But if you want to truly slow the spread, the best thing is to just fucking vaccinate everybody in their 20s and 30s right off the bat.
First in line.
Well,
oh no, after the healthcare workers and the seniors. That's what I said.
Yeah.
They're, because you have to do them for. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like you're saying,
teacher. I would have I said, sorry, grandma. Like we need to get your grandson Caden because he won't fucking stop going to bars every day. And if we want to slow the spread of this thing, we got to get fucking Hayden and Caden their fucking vaccine so they because they're not going to stop partying. And it sucks to reward those people, and it's you know what I mean, like in that way. But like if we're truly trying to stop the spread of it, the best route is probably these people that are never going to listen and never going to stop. The best way is probably vaccinate them, and it ends up the spread would probably be slowed a lot. It's just like it's a PR disaster to do that. But honestly, if that's the goal is to slow the spread, people in their 20s and 30s, would probably be the best people to do.
Logically, you would do the healthcare workers, the essential workers, and the seniors, which is what they're doing, right? Logically, you would do them, and then you would just work backwards based on age. Because the risk factor increases the older you are, right? Logically, that's what you would do, but that's not what we're doing.
If everybody was following the rules, that's exactly the route you would go. But nobody is following the rules, so that's not the route you can do.
Well, and the younger you are, the less likely you are to follow the rules. So we have put the 20-year-olds to the front of the line.
Right.
Yet everyone thinks Casey Catanzaro is the world's biggest heel. She's become the lightning rod, but they're all out there partying, all of them. Why do you think people mysteriously disappear from TV for 2 weeks at a time? They're all out there doing it, okay? And it's so funny because all these people on Twitter, all these young people on Twitter burying her. You think all these people on Twitter are staying in the house either? They're all virtuous on Twitter, okay? Look around. People punted this thing 8 months ago. Nobody's staying in the house except me. I'm the only person that stays in the house. Everyone else is going out to dinner, fucking living their lives. I see these people on Twitter talk about going out to eat, and then they're burying Casey Catanzaro because she has a video of her going out to eat. These people are such frauds. You know what I mean? It's such bullshit. But so yes, on Valentine's Day, me and you probably will be the only people in the house because all these frauds on Twitter are going to go out to eat on Valentine's Day with their girlfriends and boyfriends, and then they're going to bury Casey Catanzaro because she's so stupid that she's going to go out there and blast that they went out for dinner. It's just these people on Twitter just aren't telling anybody. So I don't buy. It's just such nonsense. None of these wrestlers are conforming down there in Florida. They're in Florida, number one, so you don't have to conform. And they're all in their 20s and they're stupid. None of them are conforming. But listen, I understand how it works. You got to pick the right enemies on social media. I know that's how that works. And I'm not even defending Casey Catanzaro.
No.
She's a dope. But I just think it's funny how
she's one of millions of dopes that are out there. Yes, we are a country of dopes. So Casey Catanzaro is not she's very much a representative of the entire dopey nation that we live in. So
you don't think Simone Johnson's going out? Come on now, but she does clap tweets, so we don't dare pick on someone like that. That's how it works.
Yeah, right.
That's how it works. Okay, let's be honest. You think Simone Johnson's sitting in the house quarantining? Please. Okay, they're all out there, all of them. But anyway, Rich, I'm going to walk you through this NXT TakeOver because I didn't watch NXT this week.
Yeah, there you go. I can get you. I'm up on NXT TakeOver, a show that I definitely did not know was or I definitely did know was a pay-per-view this weekend. I did not just realize that today. So go ahead.
I'm not the only one who didn't watch NXT this week with their .1.
Yeah, it looks like I was one of few people that decided to watch old NXT this week. But that rating, whoo boy, especially my demo. Not many people in my demo watching this show this week. So.
Three-way. A three-way with the ladies.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. You cannot have the women's championship defended in a one-on-one match in NXT. It's just impossible. It's just cannot happen.
Doing a double on
I know, yeah.
A three-way with the ladies. Io Shirai, Toni Storm, and Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah.
It's your segment, Rich.
I mean, the problem, though, is that NXT kind of stinks. So, they're going to have a match. They're going to fight each other. Obviously, Toni Storm is now full on heel. Io Shirai has kind of turned semi-babyface, or I think full on babyface at this point. So that's kind of your gimmick between those two. And they have a little bit of a background, a little bit of history. Toni Storm, when she came back and turned heel, she attacked Io Shirai, and that's kind of the build there. Then Mercedes Martinez is just like, hey, I want to win the title. And that's where she's at. So she returned from she said in her promo, she talked about returning to NXT. So it's canon that she was a part of Retribution and just bounced and left and went back to NXT, which makes it kind of funny that, Reckoning is still out there, and it's just like, man, if you can go, why would all these other guys not go back to where they were at NXT? But it is completely forced to get Mercedes Martinez in there, even though I don't hate it because she's got a cool story. It just feels like they had this Io Shirai Toni Storm thing, and then they also have this Mercedes Martinez thing. So instead of doing 2 separate matches, they just lump her in there. So
because on the main roster you get all that pay-per-view money.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or on the main roster you get all that house show money.
All the big house show money.
And the pay-per-view money, yes. The 2 Dusty Rhodes finals. We have Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. And then MSK versus the Grizzled Young Vets.
Yeah, there you go.
Grizzled Young Veteran. Yes. So I have to say it like
shocked. I just want to say shocked at the Grizzled Young Veterans. So they on the show this week they had the semi-main event or the semifinals of the tournament were MSK versus the I blank on their name. The fucking
Rascals.
No, I know they're the Rascals. Who were they? They were against the Latino guys.
They used to be the Rascals. MSK.
No, yes, yeah. What's the tag team name of the Phantasmo?
Legado di Phantasmo.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, those guys. So they had a great match. I would definitely go and watch that one if I were you. And you're absolutely on the money. And every time I watch them, you're absolutely on the money that MSK is like perfect for this company. Where on the indies, like they would have to work, 15-minute matches. They'd have to. This is like, all right, guys, you got 7 minutes to do all your shit, and they just do all their shit in 7 minutes, and it's awesome because like it's the bell rings and they just fucking do shit for 7 minutes. There's just
structure,
yeah, and there's a little bit of structure to it too, but like but in a way, it's very well done. So they won their match and they looked good, and they seem like the favorites to win this entire tournament. And then they had Ciampa and Thatcher against the Grizzled Young Veterans, and I'm like, oh man, the juxtaposition of Thatcher and fucking Ciampa against his MSK guys, like that is going to be a hell of a match. And then out of nowhere, fucking the Grizzled Young Veterans beat Ciampa and Thatcher. Yeah. I was stunned that they won and have moved on here.
I like Grizzled Young Veterans, so I hope they win.
No, I like them too, but it's just, I was thinking, man, there's no way they're going to have the Grizzled Young Veterans win this match, and here they are, man. So they're in a main event, so good for them.
When they wrestle, do you take off your shoe and hold it up? I don't know why they do that for James Gibson, but the British fans,
I never got that, and I think I got explained to me once, and it didn't make much sense. So
in my living room, I hold up a shoe.
You find it the nearest shoe. Yes. Do it. So there's that one. But anyway, that final, I'm kind of interested in that one though, because it still is, even though it's not Ciampa and Thatcher, it is still a juxtaposition of MSK just fucking doing shit and flying all over the place versus the slow it down, grind you into the mat Grizzled Young Veterans. So should still be a pretty fun match. And then the Women's Dusty Classic, Joe. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart faced Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae on the semifinal.
Yeah.
So brutal. I don't know that there was a spot that they didn't fuck up.
There's a dirty little
so bad.
Indy Hartwell is not very good.
She is so bad.
There's a dirty little secret though too. Like Ember Moon's not that good.
No, and I was going to bring up of all the people in the match, Indy Hartwell was real bad, like horrendously bad. But she's still been, she's been working for like a year or two or whatever. So I'll let her slide.
She's legitimately a developmental wrestler.
Right, she's fine. Ember Moon was the second worst, and not that far off from Indy Hartwell. And she's been wrestling for like a decade and a half.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the injury. I don't know what she comes back from, tearing her Achilles. Like, it's not an easy injury to come back from. I get it, but she is not good. Very sloppy, and she wasn't always the smoothest worker either. If we're being honest, like she was always, but she was able to kind of make up for it with athleticism and with high, some
dynamic.
Yeah, dynamic high spots, big stuff like that. She doesn't do that as much, so it looks even worse. Candice fucked up a dive and landed on her face. Shotzi was Shotzi. It was so bad.
Oh, sounds like a hell of a match.
Yeah, so that's the build to this women's final here, where I hope Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez wins, but I know old H loves the Shotzi, so who knows what's gonna happen there. So maybe she'll win it. So, and he can howl.
Johnny Gargano. Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were.
I was gonna say that he could take a picture with them in the backstage, and he can howl with Shotzi. So
yes. Johnny Gargano, accompanied by The Way, defends the North American title against Kushida. That could be great, right?
Yeah, it could. No, so they are hitting the fuck. Johnny as a heel, they're hitting that thing over the head. For people that haven't watched it recently, Gargano claims that Kushida, the hoverboard lock, he broke his arm. So he wanted to get out of this match, and he was in a wheelchair even though he broke his arm, which was kind of fun heat where, they're lifting him into the ring, and Vic Joseph's like, why is he in a wheelchair? He broke his arm or whatever, which is, again, it's like classic old school. Like, I enjoy this part. This is when it's so ridiculous, it's actually kind of funny. And then, they do the thing where Kushida runs into the ring and he attacks them, and they do a tug of war with the title, and Johnny's tugging with his broken arm. And Kushida points at it, and William Regal's out there, and he goes, aha, your arm's not broken. And then Johnny has this moment like, oh no, oh my God, I forgot that my arm was broken. So William Regal then says, okay, no, you guys are going to face each other So it should be pretty cool. The problem, though, is, so I mentioned all that stuff was really good. In this, so you watched none of NXT, right, this week?
I haven't seen it, no.
So it was so ridiculous. So you had the Xia Li with, like, the 1,000-year-old woman thing, which is just fucking really, really weird. You have Caden Carter walking up to the 1,000-year-old woman and saying, what have you done to her? What have you done to our friend Xia? And it's so weird and bad and strange while this demon is choking Bao or whatever. So it's just like, what is going on? So there's all this really cool, like, old school wrestling thing with Johnny Gargano trying to fake his injury, Kushida running up and realizing that he's faking this injury, beating up the heels, putting them in arm bars and all that sort of stuff. So Johnny Gargano runs out of the ring. And Austin Theory runs right behind him. Austin Theory gets dragged underneath the ring, and Johnny goes to pick him up. So he goes to pick him up, and he yanks him out from under the ring and goes, I got you, Austin. I got you, Austin. He's looking up in the air, though, and he looks down. He did not pick up Austin Theory. He picked up Dexter Lumis.
Oh, God.
It's so bad. So Dexter stares at him, and Johnny goes, ah! So bad. And then Austin Theory comes out from under the ring and goes, thanks, Johnny. And then he turns around. It's Dexter Lumis. And he goes, ah.
Maybe it's better than nobody's watching.
Yeah,
this
it's
shit.
so bad. I was like, man, you had something really good, and then you do that. Like, the Gargano Kushida was just pure pro wrestling, and it ruled, and it was awesome. And the babyface looked like $1 million. And then it all builds up to, Dexter Lumis hiding under the ring, stealing their souls because he stares at him or whatever. It's so bad. And then Finn Balor and Pete Dunne, they had promos, and that's it. So I don't know. Like,
no, this will be a match that Edge is watching very closely.
Yeah. That's that with the build, and that's what they said on NXT. They said a match that Edge will be watching very closely: Finn Balor versus Pete Dunne. And then Pete Dunne said, like, I want to win the title, and Finn Balor said, you can't win the title, and that's what we got here. So
Edge will be rubbing his very long chin and watching this match, wondering if he's going to challenge the winner at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. You're right. That coward is to challenge Walter right now. Walk out on NXT UK and say, you know what? Don't defend that title before WrestleMania because Edge, Walter, Mania, let's do it, pal. You know what? If you had some guts, Edge.
Right. Edge needs to walk out and say,
Sid, shut up for a minute. I got something to say.
Mark Coffey, I'm going to let you finish, but
yeah,
I got something to say here. To Walter, to the big man, and I'd be into Walter versus Edge.
Hell yeah, that'd be awesome.
And it would elevate the NXT UK Championship if Edge bypass said, Roman, forget Roman Reigns, not interested in him. I know I teased NXT, but what I really want is a shot at that NXT UK gold with its fine lineage. Joe Coffey has held this title, and I want to be part of that lineage of great NXT UK champions. And then what they could do is the Gallus music could hit. Doom, 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 hey now. And Joe Coffey can come down and they can do a 3-way at WrestleMania. How about
great.
That?
Yeah, perfect.
Because that's what they would do.
Right. Everybody'd be really excited about Edge versus Walter. There'd be a bunch of like GIFs and tweets and everybody, oh my God. And then, yeah.
And Joe Coffey would say,
there's not going to be a match without me, without Gallus.
And then Sid Scala would say, he'd be waving his finger in the air and he'd go, I have an idea. I've got an idea for you boys.
People think we're making this up. We're not making this up. This is NXT UK, by the way.
I know how we could settle this, and he would make it a 3-way, and then Johnny Saint would just, someone would pull his string and make him nod. And then that's how that would work. And we'd have ourselves a 3-way at WrestleMania. Edge versus Walter
versus
Joe Coffey. Right. With the Wolfgang at ringside.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You got to have the Wolfgang at ringside.
Hearing that Gallus music blast over the Raymond James Stadium speakers would definitely have me pumped up. So
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Let the cannons blow off while he's in there too. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, the Wolfgang and Mark Coffey, who are the NXT UK Tag Team Champions, I think. But I don't know, because I haven't watched a second of NXT UK aside from Walter versus Ilya Dragunov. So,
but so I mean, this takeover on paper, like Gargano Kushida should be really good. Finn Balor and Pete Dunne should be really good. MSK versus Grizzly Young Veterans should be pretty good. And the women's stuff, I mean, I think the three-way will be pretty solid. I'm not sure about the tag match. But on paper, it looks like a good NXT, but the TV is just really weird right now. It's very strange. I don't know what NXT is trying to go for right now, but it's all kinds of bad, and no one's watching. So, did you Trevor Lee or whatever the hell he is, Cameron Grimes?
Yeah,
his gimmick is that he made money on the GameStop stock, so now he's rich.
Good for him.
Yeah,
good for him. So he's rich now.
So he came out and said, "I'm rich. I made all." So he's like a half like J.R. Ewing, half whatever he was before. He's just screaming about how much money he made. He said he made money on Dogecoin, but I think he meant Dogecoin. So yeah, he's
so he's a dim-witted Southerner who came in the money.
Yes, exactly.
So he's doing a Jed Clampett Beverly Hillbillies gimmick.
Yeah, you know what? That's a better comp. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's a 60-year-old comp.
Yeah, right.
But that's what he's doing.
Which I'm guessing how it actually went in the room. That's probably how it went in the room. Is whoever's young, like Sanjay Dutt or whatever, is trying to explain to Shawn Michaels that or I'm trying to think, Jim Smallman and Sanjay Dutt are like, yeah, so or I don't know who's backstage. Smallman's probably in UK. I don't know if he's actually in Florida or whatever. Sanjay Dutt and Shawn Michaels is a perfect comp because them having a conversation
Gabe is back there.
Who is it?
Gabe is.
I don't know what Gabe's contributed to this conversation. Maybe, but no. I imagine I'm trying to think of the youngest, most into modern stuff guy, and then the oldest guy.
We're talking about agents here. None of them are spring chickens, but. Yeah, Sanjay Dutt's probably in his late 30s or 40s.
He understands. Right? So what probably happened to Shawn Michaels is Sanjay, what's up with this GameStop thing? What's going on with this thing? And Sanjay Dutt explains, okay, so it's these guys on Reddit, which is like a sub, internet thing. They all banded together to buy stock of GameStop, and it rose up or whatever. And then Shawn Michaels is probably thinking, well, so there's just these weirdos around on the internet, and they made a bunch of money. And Sanjay Dutt's like, yeah, some of them did. And then the idea pops in Shawn Michaels' head, like the Beverly Hillbillies, they came into money and they didn't know what they were doing, and he's like, I guess, I don't know, and then it's here it is on TV,
Yeah, it's playing out.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels is like, oh yeah, because they came into money and they didn't know what the hell they were doing, right? And it's like, yeah, I guess, that's sort of what it is. So that's imagine at least it was a Dutt Michaels conversation, and it ended up with Trevor Lee being a millionaire now, or billionaire. I forget what he said. He said he's richer than Elon Musk. So.
Oh, he's a billionaire.
Yeah, he's a multi-billionaire apparently. So he invested quite a lot of money into GameStop and Dogecoin. So,
well, Jed Clampett was shooting at some raccoons, and he shot the ground, and oil came out of the ground, and that's how he became rich. Liquid gold, Texas tea, liquid gold.
Tea, yeah.
Yes, and so they packed up and moved to Beverly Hills. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess if you have money, I guess I have to live in Beverly
Hills. It fucking stinks. I'd rather live somewhere else for sure.
To live next door to Bobby the Brain Heenan, who also allegedly lived in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills, Minnesota. Yeah.
Beverly Hills, Chicago. Bobby the Brain Heenan. Right. Along with the Beverly Brothers, who allegedly also were from Beverly Hills, Bo and Blake. And they actually were from Minnesota. So there you go. But, all right, Cameron Grimes is rich.
Yep.
I'm sure it's hilarious. He's still getting chased around by zombies.
He said it was actually fun. The way that they established it, he goes, I'm too rich to do your stupid, I'm not going to wrestle your dumb matches with Dexter Loomis. I'm not wrestling zombies. I'm not getting chased by zombies anymore. So it's in canon that he's so rich now that he's just like, fuck off. I'm not wrestling zombies. So if William Regal's like, Cameron, I'm putting you against, he's going to be like, fuck off. I'm just going to go ride in my sports car. So
he did bring up the zombies.
Yes, he said, I'm not wrestling any zombies anymore.
And we're not making any of this up.
No, this is NXT right now. So
the zombies are part of the canon. He's got fuck you money to get away from zombies.
Right,
now.
Right.
Well, good for Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, I hope that's actually true. I hope that's legit. Where I hope in real life he has that money, and they tell him, "Hey, you're going to face zombies," and he goes, "No, I'm not."
Yeah. Well, that's NXT TakeOver.
Yeah.
Remember when we would lead off the show at TakeOver previews?
I do. I'm about to. Patreon.com/Voice of Wrestling, going through the first few NXT takeovers as well on the WWE Network. $5 tier, VOW Retro in February. The Arrival, going through the talking about the life of the WWE Network, because the first live stream on the WWE Network was NXT Arrival. So talk about that, and then talk about the other few big time first few NXT takeovers, which were all real interesting, real fun, real historic matches, historic moments, and I'm also going to touch on the WWE Network and the creation of it as it dies, because it's going to die soon. So.
Well, you get to talk me through this Impact Wrestling No Surrender show.
Let's go.
So
we got
now it's my turn.
Let's do this one as quick as possible, man, because we still got the Noah thing, and then we got Bouncin Around the Indies, and I'm afraid that those people that you said were might be right here. Andrew Sinclair.
We're right on pace.
Yeah, Andrew Sinclair has a preview up on the website, voiceswrestling.com, if you want to read that as well. Joe, they got 40 people on this show. 40 bodies are going to be there at Impact Wrestling No Surrender.
This is a dopey Impact Plus special, not a pay-per-view, right?
Right.
We still haven't gotten pay-per-view numbers from Hard to Kill.
Which tells me they were great, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, when you don't get the numbers and it's not getting fed to Dave, that probably means it's not good. So
I don't know. Yeah, the TV's still up. I mean, up versus last year, especially in the demo. But I don't know. You think someone would be bragging about those numbers by now, right?
You would.
Figured out.
Yes, yeah. But apparently nobody has them yet, so that means probably not good. So, all right, so let's do this. As I said, Andrew Sinclair, voiceswrestling.com, has the preview here. We have the Decay, Black Toros, who debuted in Impact and joined Decay with Crazy Steve and Rosemary versus Tennille Dashwood and the team of XXXL, AC Romero and Larry D. Did I do too many X's there? What did I do? XXX? No, I did 3. XXXL, AC Romero and Larry D.
Yeah, 3 X's. Yeah.
Talk about that match.
What is that, 35 in Roman numerals or 30?
30. Oh, man, I should know this.
B is 5.
30.
L, you have to subtract 5.
I don't think you would do. I think XXL would be like, because the L is 50, right? So that's a.
Doesn't the L mean you have to subtract or something?
No, I don't think so.
Because 35 would be XXXV.
I don't think that. I don't think that would be a real Roman numeral, because I think at L I don't think they would do that, because L is 50. I know for a fact L is 50. L
is 50 by itself.
Yeah, but it would be L and then XXX. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't have the 10s before the 50s. You know what I mean?
Is it because? No, but how come there was a Super Bowl XL? That was. Was there? I don't think there was. There was I don't think there was. Yeah, there was a Super Bowl that was XL. There was.
Oh,
there 100% was.
Well, I don't think that's right. So
look up the Super Bowls. It is right. Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, Seahawks Steelers. Yeah, I think they're wrong here. I don't know.
XL. I
don't know about the numerology there.
It was XL, but this year's was LV.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know, because XL I guess would be 40. Yeah, I guess that would work. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because L is you subtract the 10 from the X from the L, so if you get the 4, or was it 50?
That was Super Bowl. No. That was Super Bowl. Jesus Christ.
We're into the L Super Bowls, though.
Yeah.
This one was LV, which is 55. Right. Now I know why Vince dropped the Roman numerals.
Yeah, I get it now. But no, XL was 40. XL was definitely the 40th Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
So I guess you can use it for XL, but I think maybe multiple X's then now you don't use it anymore, because LX, you would use LXXX, and that would be 80 then. It'd be 50, 10, 10, 10.
Correct. XXXL is not a real Roman numeral.
Yeah. Oh, but you're saying that maybe you would subtract it then, so it'd be like 35 or something like that, or some weird way to get it,
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that can't be a real Roman numeral XXXL, because okay, this is hard to. I understand it in my head, but I can't explain it, because that would not be. You can't have 30 and then 50. Like, it'd be negative 20 or something.
Exactly. Right.
You can't have that, because you gotta. Anyway, nobody cares. This is why WrestleMania dropped the Roman numerals, because
Vince was trying to figure out. God damn it! Who cares? Get rid of it. WrestleMania pirate ship. That's good enough. Yeah.
But LX was 55. Well, no, wait. LV is 55 because
Yes.
L is 50.
Yeah.
V is 5. It's straightforward. There's no subtracting going on because there's just whatever. Yeah, that's going to be comedy. What's next?
Thank you. Jordan Grace, Jazz, and ODB versus Deonna Purrazzo, Kimberly, and Susan.
That's going to be awful. ODB is back, though.
Yeah.
Jazz. I don't know why AEW didn't bring in Jazz. She looked good in that Battle Royal. Yeah.
That's a good veteran hand. All right. Jake something. They finally gave his name. He is now Jake something. He's not Cousin Jake anymore. The big blow-off. Jake something versus Cousin Diener.
At least it's a match with a story coming in.
Yep.
Something's up with Joe Doring, though. Something's up with Joe Doring. They never let him wrestle.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what physically is wrong with him, but yeah, they are just
something's wrong with him.
Yeah, they're not putting him in the ring, and which kind of leads me to believe. I mean, what do you do with why? Unless you know that like an X amount of time we're gonna be able to use him in the ring, but like I'm sorry, he doesn't offer me anything then. Without getting in the ring. But this Spook Boy. Impact Knockout Tag Team titles, Texas Tornado, no DQ. All right, ready for this? Pure 6 brawl here. Kira Hogan and Tasha Steelz versus Havoc and Nevaeh, which is heaven spelled backwards.
No interest.
How bad is this gonna be?
How gotten to is this Kira Hogan? Every 6 months complaining that someone's stealing her gimmick. Like, she's saying Sasha Banks is stealing her gimmick. She's saying, before that, she complained that someone else was stealing her gimmick. I don't think anyone's paying attention to
No, Kira. Yeah, sorry. I don't know that anybody is, really watching Kira Hogan tapes.
Second thought to her.
And saying, oh, man, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I think Sasha's got herself figured out. I don't think she needs Kira Hogan tapes to get there. So
okay, here's those impact numbers. Impact numbers I was talking about. I found it. This is from Brandon Thurston, the TV. In 18 to 49, Impact is up 15% year over year over February 2020. So that's actually a pretty impressive number. They are the only wrestling show that is up year over year in February in 18 to 49. AEW is down 5% after this week's numbers. NXT, Raw, and SmackDown are obviously way down. Impact is up 15% in 18 to 49 year over year in February. So that shows you the Kenny Omega effect. AEW, Impact, and SmackDown are up in February versus January. In other words, February 2021 is up versus January 2021 in overall viewership. And NXT and Raw are down. So if you're curious if the AEW stuff or the Kenny Omega stuff is still helping Impact, the answer is yes. But you have to remember they were starting from a very low place to begin with. I wouldn't call it spectacularly up, but they're up. And when the other shows are mostly trending down. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that was from Brandon. He tweeted out earlier today. If you look on at Brandon Thurston on Twitter, he's got the charts up in more extreme detail that I can't go into now. But that's really all you need to know. Impact is up 15% year over year in 18 to 49. And in February, they're up over January in total viewers. So there you go.
All right. Ready for this one? We have a triple threat revolver Impact X Division contendership match here. Ace Austin, Blake Christian, Chris Bay, Daivari, Josh Alexander. You really can't find anything better for Josh Alexander. Jesus Christ. Suicide, Trey Miguel, and Willie Mack. Joe, do you know the rules of a triple threat survivor match?
No.
Okay, I'll read them for you right here. 3 competitors start the match. When one is pinned or submitted, another will enter the fray. Dave Sapolsky here. The triple threat matches will continue until there are no more entrants, in which the final pinfall or submission will earn the victor a shot at the X Division Championship. This is WCW as fuck here. So convoluted.
So, all right, you start with 3 guys. One guy's out, another guy comes in.
Yeah, I guess.
It's not that bad.
I mean, it's stupid.
I thought it'd be worse.
No, I mean, it's pretty dumb. I don't know.
I mean, basically what they're doing is it's going to be a 3-way match all the way through instead of a 7-way match from the start. So,
cool.
I don't know.
I would just rather a singles match. And you really can't find anything better for Josh Alexander than to be in a triple threat revolver match? Good Lord. Anyway.
No, well, I mean, he could be having a blow off against Ethan Page, but
yeah, can't do that. Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona. Oh my God, I'm marking out, bro. Matt Cardona versus Brian Myers and Hernandez.
yeah, I mean, I thought they would keep Cardona and Myers apart a little longer than this, but they're not.
Clearly, they are not. Impact X Division Championship match here. TJP defending the title against Rohit Raju. That should be pretty solid. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's been some of the best stuff in the company is
Absolutely.
the X Division stuff with Raju and TJP.
This one, which I watched some of the videos leading up to this here, Impact World Championship. Rich Swann defending the title against Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer put his hair in a man bun. Did you see that? And he's fucking ready to go. It's exactly, if you haven't seen any of the build for this, just imagine what Tommy Dreamer being like, this is my life. This is what I worked. You know, that like it's that promo, that build. And you know what? It's whatever. It's an Impact Plus special. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to see what he does. But you know, it's serious Tommy Dreamer. It's not, you know, bullshit. It probably won't be plunder. I guess it'll be an actual wrestling match. But I don't know. We'll see. Swan versus Dreamer. So.
Well, this is the problem. They don't have. That's the one thing they're missing is a dream match for Omega.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about it a million times. They don't have that iconic Impact associated wrestler who's a big star who they can put in there with Omega. They don't have AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or Kurt Angle or you know, even someone like Abyss. They just don't have anybody anymore. Rich Swann is not it. And to hammer that home, that's not even the main event of the show. I mean, you know, the biggest match on the show is the Good Brothers versus Private Party versus Sabin and Storm. And that's because right now the Good Brothers they're bigger stars than Rich Swann. I don't think anybody would deny that, even though Rich Swann is their world champion. So, and plus you have the AEW involvement with Private Party. So, I mean, and that's why their ratings are up. So, of course, that's the main event. So, it sucks for them that they don't have that trademark star to eventually have a match with Omega to pay all of this off.
Right. No, for sure. And then, like you said, because this isn't even the main event, because the main event is going to be the Good Brothers versus Sabin and Storm versus Private Party. So,
and I'm sure Tony Khan will be at ringside.
Yeah. It's I mean, that's the most important story in the company. But yeah, and I said the same thing. I guessed it on Josh Nation's Punch Out on F4WOnline.com this week, and that's the same thing we talked about. Is like, all right, what's the end game for this? And it's like right now, it's just a big shrug emoji. It's like the end game I see the end game for AEW is, you know, Kenny Omega collects belts, he beats Rich Swann, he wins the title, the Good Brothers come in, you know, you can use the Good Brothers in AEW. I see all the benefits for AEW. I see all I see the story for AEW. But Impact, who's the guy that steps up and says, all right, no, Kenny, no, you're not going to leave with my title. You're not going to leave with the Impact title. They don't have that guy. It's not Rich Swann.
It's an interesting switch because in the beginning of this, we saw all the benefits for Impact.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
What AEW is getting out of it. Now we see what AEW is getting out of it. What Impact is getting out of it now is that little bump in their ratings that I talked about earlier.
Right.
And somehow it's sustaining. I don't know how, because we kind of see the pattern now. You get Kenny Omega in the trailer talking for a couple minutes. He never wrestles on the show, but you know, they've peppered in Private Party, and Good Brothers, I think, have gotten over in two different companies now. They were really going nowhere fast in Impact. Since all of this has started, they're main eventing on Dynamite on a consistent basis. They're main eventers in Impact now. So they feel like the biggest stars in Impact right now. But it's like, yeah, Impact somehow is still getting a ratings bump, but they don't have that big match to build to. And I don't see them making an effort. I thought maybe Moose, now that he had some momentum, they would go in that direction, but Moose isn't even on this show, period. So I don't know. There's no match. I don't know if Omega ever has a match. I don't know if they even do Omega Swan. I mean,
to me, it's Moose. Yeah, to me, Moose is now the guy that you build up and get ready for. They're
not doing that. They're
I know
not even bothering.
That's what I would do, but I don't know.
I mean, I figured Moose would beat Swan, and then you build to Moose Omega. But you need a strong babyface dynamic in a match like that, and then Omega either needs to cheat to beat the guy, because you're not going to beat Omega. AEW is not going to allow that. So maybe they do a Swan match at some point. if they're going to do this Omega belt collector thing. Who knows? Anyway, that's No Surrender, which I don't know. That looks like it's going to be a slog, but we got a job to do. What's next?
Yeah, we'll watch some of it. All right, let's talk Noah Destination here. Then we'll conclude the show by bouncing around the indies. But Noah Destination happening in a few hours here. We have a preview up on the website, so if you're listening live, go check that out at voicesofwrestling.com. We'll have reviews for this as well. But this looks like an awesome show. Definitely a show that you and I are going to talk about. Well, some parts of it are. I mean, a noteworthy show. Can I say a noteworthy show?
Yes.
I'll say noteworthy instead of awesome. That might be the better way to do it. Yeah, maybe bell to bell. Not that awesome, but noteworthy for sure.
I think a lot of things have to go right for this to be an awesome show. It won't be impossible, but there's also a lot of things that could go very wrong. So we'll see.
That's to me the one issue with this show, and the one reason why I think you're probably a little bearish on it, which I get totally, is that it feels like a mid 2010s like produce show, because they're in Budokan Hall, and obviously the idea was we wanted to get as many people to Budokan Hall. We want this kind of legacy thing. So you have a lot of like older dudes in big spots. It feels more like a what was the Kenta Kobashi produce company that was around for a little bit. It might still be around. Fortune Dream, wasn't it called Fortune Dream? Yeah, it kind of feels like a Fortune Dream show more than a Noah show. You know what I mean? It feels more like that sort of thing where it's half like young dudes doing stuff, but then it's also a lot of the old guys too in big prominent spots in the show. I mean, obviously the main event, and it's not just the main event, the semi-main event too. It has got a lot of sort of old school legacy, old school Budokan Hall stuff to it. So, which makes it an interesting show, but maybe not necessarily a great bell to bell show from that sense.
They loaded it up with a lot of old names because they're running Budokan. And even if it's limited attendance, there's still the threat that they can't sell all the tickets. So they loaded it up with all the old guys. I get it. So that's why it has that feel. Look, Muto, I thought he had a legitimately great match against Kaito Kiyomiya last year. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if I really like the match against Go. But I also wouldn't be stunned if it's an absolute train wreck. It can really go a variety of ways with a guy that old whose body is in that condition. The atmosphere is going to go a long way. I don't know what kind of atmosphere this is going to have. If it has a cool look that harkens back to old Noah in the big building with the ramp and the lights, that could really help things. And the crowd is going to be limited. Obviously, there's not much you can do about that. We talked about that with the New Japan, the clap crowds and all that. So the atmosphere will go a long way with a lot of these matches too. If it feels like a huge match, then the main event, it'll help the main event. Masakatsu Funaki, I thought he's looked good.
Yes, he really has. Yeah, that's a match that, I don't know, man. It could be really, really fun and really, really good, or it could. But I'm leaning to the side of it being really, really fun and good because Kano fucking rocks, and Funaki's looked pretty good too. So I'm very curious, but it does have the potential to also not be great too. So,
I mean, Kano's doing this shooter thing. That's kind of been his gimmick lately, where he's he beat Sakuraba at his own game, remember, and now he's taking on another shooter. So he's going to win the match. I don't think he's going to lose. But, I'll have to see how the styles go. I don't think it's going to be long. But again, a lot has to go right. And then Marufuji and Akiyama, it's great that they're bringing Akiyama in for this against Kaito Kiyomiya and Yoshiki Inamura. That's a generation battle, and it should be a lot of fun. And then, Daisuke Harada defends the junior title against Yoshioka. It should be fine. And there's a junior tag title match, Kotaro Suzuki and Ikoto Hidaka against the Stinger team, challenging the Stinger team, Ogawa and Hayata. So we'll see if we'll play junior musical chairs again on this show.
Yeah, who's turning on who, Joe? Make the prediction right now.
I mean, how can you predict anything with the way that they...
Right, it feels like a flip of a coin at sometimes too, or a flip of like an 8-sided die where you just decide, all right, these 6 guys are turning on these 6 guys. So who the fuck knows? But someone's turning for sure, right? I think we can definitely say that. So.
And then you got a couple people who just kind of got left out of the bigger matches, and it's a shame. because you got Nakajima, Kitamiya, Soya, Neo, and Tadasuke. On the Congo side, it's a 10-man tag against Sagara Gun, Takashi Sagara, Sakuraba, Ironhead, Murakami, Kendo Kashin, and Nosawa Rangai. So it's Congo versus Sagara Gun. And you kind of wish Nakajima and Sagara had a bigger role on the show. It's just not their time in the booking. So, and a lot of that is, well, you bringing in your Keiji Mutos and your Funakis, they're going to take up the spots at the top of the card, and these other guys get squeezed out. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I know why they feel like they have to do this, but at the same time, it's like half attendance or something, I don't know.
Yeah, this makes more sense in the context of a fully, like, okay, we need to definitely fill Budokan Hall, or we definitely need. The whole show seems like it felt like at some point they probably could have not, changed the style of this match where you don't, or this entire show where you don't need to have all the legends in the big spots, unless you want it for the purposes of you're in Budokan, so you're kind of, a nod to the past or whatever. But in terms of like drawing money and selling tickets, like I don't really know that you needed all this stuff for a half filled, but maybe they did. I don't know. I it's not my money, it's not my business, so whatever. But yeah,
why don't you just do Nakajima versus Sagara? I mean,
I feel like I'd buy tickets for that. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, are people really clamoring to buy tickets to watch Kazuyuki Fujita in a 10-man tag? I mean. I don't know.
Maybe, not me for sure. So
we got Masaki Mochizuki and Masato Tanaka against Muhammad Yone and Taniguchi.
That sounds fucking awesome. I don't know about you, so.
I mean, Taniguchi, it can, sometimes he looks like the worst wrestler on earth, and other times he's shockingly good. So I don't know. Yone is what he is, which is just an average pro wrestler. And the other team's really cool, but yeah, I don't know how much Taniguchi and Yone want to get kicked in the face by those two guys. I mean, so who knows? And then there's some other undercard stuff. Hajime Ohara and Yohei with Kai Fujimura against Atsushi Katoge, Junta Miyawaki, and Yasutaka Yano. And then Akatoshi Saito and Masao Inoue, because you got to get them on there for Budokan.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dark Agents, Daike Inaba, and Kinya Okada. So, yeah, that's the show. I mean, I think atmosphere is going to go a long way with this one. So, and a lot of the matches have, I'm a little nervous. I think, a lot has to go right. I wouldn't be shocked if any of those top matches are great, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they fall apart. Now, I really don't think they should put the belt on Muto. I know a lot of people think that they will. Some of it is people doing shtick. Some of it is people really think they're going to do it. It'd be a real shame if Shiozaki's reign ends to that guy and not someone that's a full-timer on the roster. I don't think it'll be the end of the world or anything. I'm not going to be mad, but I really think Go should survive this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a different there's certainly a like I can listen to the case that Muto should win, and it'd be cool if Muto won or whatever. But given what Go did in the last year, and given where Noah is, compared to where they were last year, to me it reeks of desperation. It just reeks of something that a company that isn't with the arrow pointing up, like that's the desperation move that a company that's just struggling and kind of trying to figure out what it's going to be and who it's going to, and its identity and all that sort of stuff. And this is not the problem for Noah right now. For the first time almost in the last 15 years of Noah, it's like, we got it. We understand what's going on. Like, we get it. We, Go is like the top star definitely works, and Go as the champion works. We know who the guys underneath are. We know that Nakajima should probably be the one that beats him eventually and moves up the ladder. Like, they have it. They have structure for the first time in feels like forever in pro wrestling Noah. And just going right back to Muto just because, haha, it'd be funny if Muto was the champion. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. In another era of Noah, I'm fine with it. Any other, some other company, I'm fine with it. But after what the year that Go had and the trajectory that Noah's been on and all the forward momentum that Noah's been on, I think you just have a hard fought match. Go beats him. Keiji gives him the stamp of approval, the handshake, and you move on with it. That I think is more than enough. Yeah,
that's how it should end, in that building especially.
You can have some hope spots. I want a Shining Wizard that everybody in that building thinks, oh my fucking God, Keiji Muto's going to beat this guy.
I assure you'll get some Shining.
You think I'll get a Shining Wizard or two?
I think you'll get
or 3 or 10 or 20.
I don't even see the argument for Muto winning because he's not a Noah guy.
No,
what
exactly.
History? Like,
right.
He's a New Japan guy. He's not a Noah guy. You know, it's so I don't even see that argument. I think Go should beat him. He is Noah. That's been the whole story of his run. I am Noah, defending the honor of Noah.
Right, which would be, think of that. Think of the optics of Go Shiozaki defending the honor of Noah, beating Keiji Muto in Budokan Hall and saying, "Here, no, we are here. We finally returned to Budokan Hall. We're back from the doldrums, which was taking over this company over the time between the times we were here. We're here again, and I am Noah, and Noah is us, and whatever. And yeah, that's the symbolism of that is way better to me than fucking Keiji Muto sitting in the middle of the ring doing his little, his pose while he's holding the GHC title. Like, I don't love that. I just, it seems desperate to me.
I don't know why you go through all this effort to establish Go Shio. I mean, the whole basis of the story against Fujita was him defending the honor of Noah.
Right.
Against an outsider. The whole basis of his reign is he is Noah. And I don't see the argument to have Muto end that and win the match. I mean, if you're just bringing him in to try to pop the house, he doesn't have. That doesn't mean him winning or losing the match doesn't make a difference. You've already sold the tickets, so I don't know. I think they may do it. I wouldn't myself, but we'll see. I don't think it'll make an enormous difference either way. It'll just be a bummer. I think they should build someone on their roster up to eventually unseat Shiozaki. And I think that person is Kaito Kiyomiya, who they have done a great job rehabbing this whole time during Shiozaki's reign. And now Kiyomiya feels like a guy who can be an ace, whereas the first time he had the title, he never felt like an ace. It was too soon. It felt force-fed, didn't feel natural. They fixed that, and I think ultimately he should be the guy to beat Shiozaki. But here's the problem, Rich. He already lost to Muto, which is another tip-off that Muto might be winning, because then you could have Kiyomiya win the title from Muto, which both avenges his loss and puts the title back on him. And then you have that whole symbolic thing. Oh, Kaito Kiyomiya beat a legend for the title. But see, I don't like that. He's too old and too broken down. I'd rather just Go beat Muto and Kiyomiya beats Go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've done such a great job. Like I said, for the first time, and it feels like literally this entire company's history, at least since 2006, 2007, 2008, it feels like for the first time ever, it's like we got a guy, we got guys underneath. We know the structure of the company is there and built. We have a star. We have young stars. We have guys we're ready to kind of move on, to pass that torch to. We don't have to go back to the old guys. We don't have to go back to the I would just love for them to embrace that. They have it. They've worked so hard to get to this point. Don't throw it away just for a fun little, Keiji Muto's our champion. Like that, I don't know.
I guess the idea is if Kiyomiya avenges because there's no reason for Kiyomiya to lose to Muto unless he's going to beat him again at some point. So I guess the idea is for him to beat Muto for the title, and then in effect, you're saving the Go Shiozaki match. Whereas if he just beats Shiozaki directly, you've done the match. But again, I don't know. I just, it's like New Japan has created actual stars in Japan because they don't do shit like this.
Right, exactly, right.
It's just, it's I don't know. It's not what I would do. But they very well may do it, and Muto beating Kiyomiya to me is what makes me think that Muto has a real chance to beat Shiozaki here.
All right, we did it. Except we got one more segment here.
Oh no, we have one more segment. That's right. I have a question for you, Rich.
I think I have an answer, but go ahead.
Are you ready to go bouncing around the Indies?
The music, you can't hear the music, but it's playing. The listeners can hear it. So,
well, I gotta break kayfabe.
I'm sorry. You can listen to it too, because we're a professional operation here.
I absolutely can hear the music. I don't know what you're talking about. The music's playing, and we're ready to bounce around various indies, starting with Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4.
Bloodsport 5. Well, it's Bloodsport 5, aka Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4.
Yes, but there's also Bloodsport 5.
Yeah, Bloodsport 5 is next weekend, which will be Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 5, which will actually be Bloodsport 6. Right. So for people that don't know, because there was a lot of people confused on Twitter. They're like, Bloodsport 5's next weekend, dummy. Like, the joke is that Matt Riddle's Bloodsport, the original Bloodsport, is not considered. It's not in the canon of the Josh Barnett's Bloodsports.
According to Josh Barnett.
According to Josh Barnett. So
who it gets very gotten to if
he does, which I got him to retweet me saying Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4 parentheses Bloodsport 5 because he probably thought I was promoting Bloodsport 5 coming up, but I wasn't, Josh. I was making a joke about your bad counting, so there you go. But this is Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4 happening this weekend. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 5 will be happening next weekend, and these are available to watch both on Bloodsport.watch, which is I don't know, it's their own thing. They're hosting it.
That.
I have no clue who's hosting it. I have no idea what's behind it. It's not Fight. It's not Independent Wrestling TV. It's not, I don't know what the hell it is, but Bloodsport.watch, $20, or I think you can pay $35 to get both 4 and 5. Taking place in, quote, a bare brick setting of an undisclosed location in Los Angeles, California. Starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. Your matches are Diego Perez versus Gil Guardo. I don't know who those are, but hey, good for them. Royce Isaacs versus Calder McCool. Super Beast.
Let me take this one.
Oh.
Super Beast versus Bad Dude Tito.
Yeah, there you go. Your boy. Los Angeles' finest. Bad Dude Tito.
TV reviews callback there.
JR Kratos, Alex Coughlin, or Coughlin, or whatever the fuck. He says it's a different thing every time, so I don't know what's going on anymore. Cal Jack versus Nolan Edward. Simon Grimm, a regular of the Bloodsport. Simon Grimm versus Tom Lawler. Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus Calvin Tankman. And your main event, Chris Dirty Daddy Dickinson versus Jeff Cobb.
$20 is pricey.
That's a lot.
Bloodsport.watch production here. Right. You don't even know how it's going to come off or work. But look, if you've seen one of these, you've seen them all. I mean, they're interesting, I guess.
I like them, but
I think people overrate them very badly.
Right. Well, I think what's cool about Bloodsport is that it happens like a few times a year. It happens in WrestleMania weekend. That's cool. It's different. It's unique. I've been to one live, and it's a lot of fun. But the problem, though, is going to come if we're doing back-to-back weekends of Bloodsport. We got another Bloodsport coming up in WrestleMania weekend. Like, I'm not down for that, really. Like, I like it as a unique thing. I don't want it every other month or every month or twice in 2 weekends. So that it could get a little long in the tooth there, but we'll see.
What's interesting is a New Japan wrestler is doing an indie, and they really pulled all of their guys from doing indies when the pandemic hit that weren't in that little building in Port Huerte, California. Like, they let them work the promotion Championship Wrestling from Hollywood that shares that studio with them, like Carl Fredericks and people like that. But Ren Narita got pulled from the indies, and none of the Young Lions worked outside of that studio in California. But here we have Alex Coughlin working an indie show. Now, he's working a New Japan adjacent talent with JR Kratos, who's been working strong, and it's an undisclosed location. It's probably that building.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure they put maybe a brick wall around it, a fake brick wall, but it's probably the same. Yeah, it's probably the same location.
Because New Japan hasn't let their guys leave that building during the pandemic. They've been very careful about that. Because remember, Ren Narita was working like Black Label Pro and all these different, and that they snuffed that out. So, to me, this is a clue with Alex Coughlin that that's where it's going to take place, especially considering his opponent and the fact that they're saying it's in and around Los Angeles.
I think the same thing applies as well to Chris Dickinson and Jeff Cobb too. You know what I mean? It's not Jeff Cobb versus Bad Dude Tito. You know what I mean? Like it's guys that they believe and trust are facing guys that are at least J.R. Kratos, they trust him to go with Alex Coughlin, and then Jeff Cobb too, who obviously New Japan adjacent, and Chris Dickinson, who's showed up on Sport and whatnot. So guys that they trust for sure.
Yeah, Dickinson and Kratos are a New Japan adjacent guys. Yeah, absolutely. They're not putting them in there. They're not allowing them to wrestle whoever Calder McCall is. So yeah, it's very interesting. I didn't even make that connection with Dickinson Cobb. I'm glad you brought that up.
WrestleMania weekend starting to take shape here as we got matches. Yes, there might be a global pandemic going on, but don't tell that to the state of Florida or WrestleMania weekend, because we got 2 independent wrestling groups, units, collectives, if you want to call them that, forming here during WrestleMania weekend. The first one we'll talk about here, a brand new one joining the fray here. Independent Wrestling TV's Showcase of the Independents. Of course, the Collective / GHC or GCW and Independent Wrestling TV have had their issues as of late, so that is a dirty breakup that's going on right now. So IWTV is doing their own thing during WrestleMania weekend, separate from GCW and the Collective. Promotions announced so far: Action Wrestling, ICW No Holds Barred, Beyond Wrestling, Super Underground Pro, Pit Fighter X. I don't know what Pit Fighter X is, but they're going to be there. Synergy Wrestling, No Peace Underground, and more on the IWTV Showcase of the Independents. So before I go over the Collective, which is also, of course, hosting WrestleMania weekend shows, what do you think of now two different sort of indie collectives, conglomerates, whatever you want to call them, appearing on WrestleMania weekend?
Well, we've seen this happen before with these splits. I mean, the Collective itself was spun off of the WWN thing years ago and everything else. So, look, these promoters can only get along for so long. I think Pit Fighter X might be their answer to Bloodsport.
I think you're probably on the money there, yes.
It's also interesting to see how the promotions fanned out. Like, obviously, the IWTV was going to have all the Halesverse promotions like Action, but also I see Beyond.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Beyond jumping ship. I think the one company that I circled as the ship jumper over them all. Synergy as well, because Synergy has done stuff with the Collective in the past, and they jump ship, quote unquote jump ship here again. Like I don't know how drawn the battle lines are. I think there's probably certain aspects that are battle line drawn, but I don't know if like. But either way, yeah, Beyond doing the mix and Synergy jumping into it, I thought were definitely pretty interesting. So,
but when it takes you 10 months to pay back the deposits from last year's WrestleMania,
yeah,
then maybe places are going to jump ship. And you look at the Collective, and it's basically all game changer shows that are branded, like For the Culture, Bloodsport, the Big Gay Brunch, Spring Break, Degeneration F, the Hot Girl Shit, Alley Cat. Those are all GCW shows, just branded. Mm-hmm. We've been over that a million times. But then they have the VXS, which ended up on their side, and one or two other minor promotions that are sticking with the Collective and Game Changer. So, and then Fake Game Changer is running again as well.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to add Fake Game Changer. Yeah, they're in. They're being bold as usual.
Yeah. So,
they're I don't know. I forgot what they were talking about. Something about masks, or I don't know. They're just they just can't help.
But who's going to go to these
so
shows? Like,
weird.
Who's traveling this year to WrestleMania with all this going on? You can't even come in from a foreign country,
right?
And from a lot of foreign countries, and who do they think? What kind of crowds they think they're going to draw?
I think they're going to do. I mean, they're going to get people. Obviously, I mean, they did for the Collective in Indianapolis, and that was even more during
I guess you're right.
A worse part of the pandemic. I mean, it's going to be those kind of people, but I don't know. It's definitely interesting, and I'm very, very, very curious what the crowds look like. I know the Collective have said that they're going to do like 20 or 30% capacity for their arena or whatnot, but yeah, I don't know. It is definitely weird, and the idea of traveling. Pro wrestling shows, I don't know. It's tough to sell right now, especially multiple traveling pro wrestling shows. That I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Fake GCW is they're doing the We Run This Town, which was their thing last year as well. So they'll be at the Egyptian Shriners Club on April 9th. So whole day of events for Fake GCW. So
be there.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. Thanks anyway, Joe. So that's that. But all right, let's finish this segment. It's Bouncing Around the Indies here with Melbourne City Wrestling Homecoming 2021, February 6th, 2021. It's available on Vimeo as well, Melbourne City Wrestling, or MCW. They have a brand new Vimeo channel due to some things I guess we'll talk about here in a bit. In the wake of the Speaking Out, somewhat new company, a little bit new ownership, a little bit new people running the show there in MCW. New production, new ownership, new announcers, a new video thing on Vimeo. But overall, like, a lot of the names are going to be familiar names that we've talked about in years past with Australian wrestling, but they're charting a new path here, and this is a hell of a fun show. I really enjoyed watching this one.
I mean, it's kind of a new company, but from what I understand, the owner threw his hands with the Speaking Out stuff, and he sold it to the guys that were running the training school. So it's not like completely new voices.
Right.
It's still people that were always involved with MCW to begin with. Now, you're going to get slightly different visions. I mean, it's very similar to when Mike Elgin sold Glory Pro to Danny Adams, a.k.a. Dan the Dad. Or if Tony Khan just said, I've had enough of this wrestling thing, and he sold it to QT Marshall and Cody. It's new owners, but it's the same. It's still people that were involved to begin with. So it's not like a complete different promotion. It's all the same wrestlers, with the exception of Dowie James, who is kind of sitting it out for now until the speaking out, whatever. I don't know enough about. I'm not getting into his accusations because I don't know enough about it. But till the dust settles on what he was involved in, he's out. But and the old owner's out. But it's the same wrestlers, the same title lineages, the same storylines, and they're basically unpaused from where they left off last year when we were really getting into this promotion. So I watched part of this show. You watched the whole thing. It felt like the old MCW to me, with the exception of some different production quirks and whatnot. So I really liked what I saw. So you want to talk about the production, though.
Yeah, so I thought, obviously looking like it was, new cameras that were bought in the last, 5 years is a plus. They kind of had a little bit of the, not necessarily all the way Riptide in terms of the cinematic feel, but a little bit more like Defy Wrestling in America, where, you fill the arena with a little bit of smoke, you use some nice cameras, you do some, and they tried some interesting shots, and not all of them landed. Some of them were a little weird. They did try to get a little too close on some of the shots, and they ended up missing some of the action and the depth of field, as it was kind of blurry sometimes. So they definitely a work in progress, but I thought ultimately they tried some new things. They tried to shoot wrestling a little bit different than everybody shoots wrestling, and I appreciate that. I did not mind it, and I don't think it took away from me, and I think it's going to be something that a lot of people do have to adjust to, just because it is different. It is unique from what you get, and pretty much 90% of wrestling is shot exactly the same. So was it perfect? No, but I appreciated their effort here, and I do think with a little bit of seasoning and a few more reps, that their production could be among the best in the entire world pretty soon.
Yeah, I thought the production was very good. I saw complaints that people, they missed a lot of shots. The production was bad. The cut that I saw looked good. I don't know. So I don't have any complaints about the production or the commentary or anything like that. I thought it looked like a slick, professional production. And like we talked about at the top, I think this comes across like a classy indie. I mean, it's a nice setup, and they got the nice video screen. They have major league looking talent. They have, major league working. I mean, guys like Adam Brooks and Slex are major league talent.
I think they have. I think a few of the people, maybe all of them, have like their own themes as well. Like they have a production company that's like making their themes for them too. So that was cool. So
yeah, I mean, this is what we were really getting into this promotion last year when the world shut down, and based on what I've seen off of this show, I'm back into them again.
Oh,
this
for
is they immediately shoot to the. We always pick on indie wrestling, but this is a promotion that shoots to the top of my list in interest. I will watch every show, just like I watch every Rev Pro show right now. And there's a Rev Pro show that just happened last weekend that I need to catch up on. But, these guys, every show they run, I'm going to watch them because they impressed me last year. And with the new reconfigured ownership that we spoke about, this show impressed me as well. Let's talk about the main event. Adam Brooks against Slex, 3 Stages of Hell, traditional rules. Oh, Slex, the business.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if that was the same guy. Or the business, Slex, which they called him today on the show.
They are calling him the business, Slex.
Which I don't like. I like Slex, the business, more than the business Slex. Yeah.
As Slex, the business.
Right. That's badass.
His Twitter is at Slex, the business.
Right.
You can't have a comma on Twitter. But I believe he is Slex, the business, and that's how I am going to refer to him.
I will too. So if they want to say it's the other way, they can go fuck off, because that's the way we're going to call him. Go ahead.
Yes. So Slex, the business.
Thank you.
Wins the first fall, traditional rules, with his rear naked choke. He has some gimmick name for it, the buyouts, or some kind of business theme name for it. I forget what he calls it, but excellent first fall. This really felt like, what this match felt like? It felt like prime 2007 work rate ROH is what this felt like. Ironically, 2 ROH contracted wrestlers, but really enjoyed that first fall. And then it was time for Falls Count Anywhere, and I thought, okay, I'm not.
Your comp is perfect, and I know we're low on time, but it reminded me of like an undercard, like a Roderick Strong versus Eric Stevens, like 2007 undercard match.
Yeah,
just fucking boom, 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 bomb, 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 big work. Big moves, big spots. Big but not like not just doing shit. You know what I mean? Like real headed, a real impact and a real weight to it too. So no, that's perfect comp.
The kind of wrestling we like.
Yes, the shit that I love. Yeah.
And with two guys who look like professionals and look like stars and work like it. I mean, is that too much to ask?
Oh God, no, dude. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said it, but yeah, that was the thing that and the reason I didn't want to call them an indie is because their guys actually look like they've worked out. Their guys actually look like wrestlers. Their guys look like stars. I mean, Slex looks like $1 million fucking bucks. They do that promo video with him, and he's got his nice glasses. He's dressed to the nines because he's Slex the fucking business. You know what I mean? He's not showing up in a goddamn t-shirt. He's not showing up in a fucking a hoodie. He Slex the fucking business, man. You know what I mean?
Big entrance.
Yeah, he's got the big entrance, the good sunglasses. He looks like $1 million bucks, and Brooks comes out there with his great music and there's smoke everywhere, and he comes out just like boom, boom, boom. And yeah, this is what pro wrestling is, and these are what pro wrestlers are. Yes.
Yes, and they can go. They're not out there, blowing spots left and right and working sloppy like the all that shit that we saw on the 24-hour deal, where people convince themselves that it's good, but it's not. You know what I mean? This was like, my God, this was such an eye opener and a breath of fresh air when it comes to indie wrestling to watch a match like this. So they go into the Falls Count Anywhere, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm probably not going to like this because they're going to walk and brawl. No, this fucking rule.
No, the no holds barred part was the best. I love this part of the match.
They did the Davey Eddie spot, the superplex.
I know. I didn't want to spoil it for you. I alluded to it a little bit on Twitter and alluded to it a little bit on our Slack, but I did not want to spoil it for you because I knew you'd love it. And then I pop up on Twitter today and I see just all caps, they did the Davies spot. So.
Slex hits the superplex and Brooks, it wasn't the exact replica, and then Brooks, no sells it, picks him up, and on the opposite side of the ring, he suplexes Slex out of the ring. I was losing my shit. I rewound it 4 times. What a spot. They did the gimmick where they set up the table, and then you forget that the table has been set up. And then Brooks got flipped over the top rope and went through the table. Just an incredible spot. And at this point in the match, I'm thinking, this is a fucking match of the year contender. How is nobody talking about this match? This match is fucking awesome. Okay? And Brooks wins the second fall by coming off the top of the ladder with the senton. He kind of shrugs his shoulders and says, fuck it. And he does the senton, or whatever you want to call it, the flip dive off the top of the ladder through Slex, pins him on top of the ladder. We're tied at 1. And then we have our ladder match with the belt hanging from the rafters. And it seems like we have the same take. This segment of the match went a little too long.
It did. Yeah, I was like, man, this has been a perfect match. Like, I'm ready to really go on the show and talk about, my God, Joe, the match that you like. And it just kept going and going and going and going, and you have too many hints and a little bit too many teases. I love the effort in this match. I love what they did, and I understand them trying to make this third part like a really big deal and a really fun, important deal. But yeah, it just went a little too long for me, and it was trending towards like one of my favorite matches of the year. And in the end, it's just going to be a very, very, very good match that I really enjoyed. Because that third fall did kind of drag a little bit. So
this was trending towards match of the year contender. It didn't kill the match by any means. I went 4.5. Brooks wins the latter portion and thus wins the match. Better than anything by far on the New Japan shows for a point of reference. The best, I can't remember the last American indie match that was this good. I mean, this was just, it actually was so good, and the work was so good, and these two guys are so good that it makes the American Indies look even worse when I watch a match like this. And I'm like, oh, this is what good wrestling looks like. I'm reminded what great wrestling looks like.
Right, and it's not that hard either. You can do it with you don't need $1 million budget to buy some cameras that were made in this century and to have guys that look like they work out or wear good, decent gear or care about their craft or try or don't fucking blow all their spots. It's not that hard. We've accepted that it is, and it's fucking not. So this is awesome.
Yeah. So absolutely, just a great match. Strongest recommendation. I think that everyone listening should go seek it out. And if they hadn't gone a tad too long in the latter portion, you're talking about a match of the year contender. Anything to add, Rich?
No, I think you're good.
Okay, we'll go through the card quickly, and there's a couple matches I didn't see, so you'll be on your own. But we had Richie Taylor against Iman the Kid and Royce Chambers to open things up. Iman the Kid is a guy that I've seen. He works Southeast Asian shows that people send me. I've reviewed some of his matches. He's one of the best guys from that part of the world, but obviously they're a little behind the rest of the world. But he didn't really look out of place here. Richie Taylor, I wasn't very familiar with coming in. And, of course, there's Royce Chambers, who I think is going to be a worldwide superstar before long.
Yeah, this year, the 2020 absolutely sucked because Royce Chambers was going to break out. I really do think that, and was going to work a ton of different places and just didn't work out for him. But, this was a decent opener. I enjoyed it, but they didn't get a ton of time to kind of showcase their skills, but that's fine. You saw what everybody was capable of in this match, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Royce Chambers is eventually going to break out big. He's going to be a worldwide star. I thought he improved his look here. I think his body's in better shape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought he had more professional-looking gear than he did this time last year, and he really wasn't the featured guy so much in this match. But look, he's a guy who I have no doubt in my mind that at some point he is going to be a worldwide breakout star, and he's going to be divisive because he does flips. So there's going to be people who say that he stinks and he doesn't sell and all this. And then there's going to be smart people who recognize that, he's going to be a breakout worldwide star and he's going to be a household name before long. Danny Psycho against Edward Dusk. This is my second or third time seeing Danny Psycho. I think third time. And I know he's a veteran of the scene. He should be on TV. I love this guy.
Yeah, it was awesome. I agree.
He's got a great look. He knows how to work. He's got size. And no one's asking me, but if someone did, I'd recommend him for television today. I'd recommend that WWE or AEW or Ring of Honor sign this guy and use him today. I'm not talking about a guy on AEW Dark getting beat every week. Like, sign him and use him. I am blown away every time I see this guy. I mean, he should be on TV.
Yeah, it's a cool story, too, because he's been wrestling for, 10, 15 years at this point, too. He kind of transformed himself from, this, weird pseudo-emo punk rock kid into what he is now. But, yeah, he looks good. He's solid as fuck. He's a great TV wrestler. He definitely projects as a good TV wrestler. So, yeah, I definitely find a way to use him.
And, this was a match with a backstory. They did a great job explaining all the stories on the show with their full, beautiful HD video packages and everything else. Is a professional production. So if you don't know what's going on between Psycho and Dusk, you did by the time the match hit. A little on the melodramatic side as far as the match goes. Dusk could have beaten him, but he chose not to.
He wanted to get the evil out. He wanted Danny Psycho to be evil, and then when when Danny Psycho finally got evil, he smiled. He beat him, and he smiled because he tapped into that, the deep inside of Danny Psycho. So yeah, a little melodramatic, but I appreciated it, and they at least did a good job of setting the stage for it. So
yeah, and then we had the tag team title match, the Brat Pack. Defeat the Natural Classics, the Philippe brothers, who people may be familiar with, New Japan adjacent tag team there. It was fine. I mean, the work was okay. It didn't blow me away. This is the last match on the show that I saw, so I'm just going to have to set you up on the other two.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But Brat Pack is a tag team, and they're accompanied to the ring by Avery, the lovely Avery.
Yes, yeah.
Wrestled later on the show. I love Avery. She does that that gimmick where it's like she has daddy issues is the gimmick.
Yes.
The best way I could put it. I think that's how she refers to it.
Right.
So it's like the kind of girl that JL would date.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, JL sees a lot in Avery for sure. So
I've been through a few Averys. Let's just put it that way. But she accompanies the Brat Pack to the ring, and they bring a lot of energy when they. That's what we didn't even bring that up. How about an arena? How about a building full of people cheering and clapping and it was a real wrestling show.
I know. It was kind of like, what am I watching? Is this from this era, the era we're living in? And it was. So.
You had a couple people wearing masks here and there, but this basically was just a wrestling show with a crowd and fans because Australia has done a good job with the pandemic. So, the Australian Open's going on right now. Same thing. People in the stands watching tennis, cheering, going about their business. Close to as normal as possible. It's great to see. Watching this show, what it told me is when real wrestling comes back, people are going to man, you forget how great it is to have wrestling with a real crowd.
Yeah, wrestling's good.
And it helped this show so much. But What'd you think of Caveman Ugg against Mikey Broderick?
Ugg is what I thought of it. It is bad. It's like a shitty comedy match. So it wasn't like terrible, but definitely one that I would. Don't go back and rewatch this one. You missed.
I'm probably going to skip it. You're telling me it's comedy. I don't want to.
Exactly. Yeah, just skip it. It's not worth it.
And then the other match, which I also did not see, was Avery, the aforementioned Avery, successfully defending her women's title against Skylar Cruz. I've been super impressed with Avery. I think she's someone that, just like Danny Psycho, I think if I'm AEW, I'm interested in Avery. How'd she look here?
Avery looked great. Skylar Cruz, I'm sure she's very nice, but Skylar Cruz was pretty bad, and I think they knew she wasn't very good because they kept this thing to like 6 minutes. But Avery is really, really good. As you said, like a great charisma, great. She had a good crowd connection here. Bounces around the ring like crazy. I mean, she is really, really, really good, and I'm really impressed. I'm really excited to see her throughout the rest of this year. Because I think that she's got a ton of talent, and this match, I mean, she so carried this match. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good match at all because Skylar was really, really bad, like really, really horrendously bad. But Avery is she's the goods, so she was able to make this pretty good. Yeah,
she has so much charisma. I mean, world's back to normal. I'm somebody like Ring of Honor who already obviously have their eyes on the scene. If I'm AEW. Avery, Royce Chambers, and Danny Psycho.
Yes.
I'm giving them a look. I mean, those three.
Yeah, you already got Brooks. You already got Slex. I mean, as far as from MCW, I'm bringing Royce Chambers in. I'm bringing Danny Psycho in. I'm bringing Avery in. And I'm bringing Brooks and Slex for sure.
They're major league, and Brooks is, again, Ring of Honor already has their tentacles here with Brooks and Slex. Those three, though, I think are major league for sure. But what I've seen of the show was very good, and back in, and I'm going to keep up with them. And this is what we talked about last week. It's like just, maybe we just need some new indies to sink our teeth into. And there's a couple other we have our eyes on.
Yeah. Some people sent us some recommendations. There's actually one that I watched like 2 matches from, but I don't have enough to talk about. But we are listening to you guys, and don't worry, we are watching it. But so I'm gonna watch some indies that I enjoy or want to enjoy or I think might be good. If people that I respect tell me they're good, I'm gonna check them out. So we'll see. Hopefully more positive indie talk moving forward on the show. So that's it. We did it. Went a little late, but that's all right. It happens. So that's it for us. Anyway, all right. VoiceOfWrestling.com, VoiceOfWrestling.com/Patreon. That was a very abrupt way to fade out the headstrong there. But anyway, that has been Bouncing Around the Indies, and that has been the episode of the Voice Wrestling Flagship Podcast. VoicesWrestling.com, at Voices Wrestling on Twitter, VoiceOfWrestling.com/Patreon. That's it. We got to go. Joe Lanza, Rich Grage. Talk to you later.